Hey everyone, Case here, and today we are doing a pretty unique video for the channel. As you guys can probably tell by the title of it, this is a much more serious take on a topic that really isn't talked about on the channel, and there's a couple of reasons for that. So first off, as you can probably tell for long-term fans and those new to the channel, welcome. This is G13 Airsoft, so we obviously focus on Airsoft, though you have been seeing other content on the channel. For example, you've been seeing us do real steel content for a good bit. You'll be seeing more of that. We just started a tactical sewing playlist on YouTube, and we do a lot of gear reviews that go well beyond the realm of Airsoft. Now, a couple of years down the line, I was thinking about expanding out into prepping, preparedness, and some other stuff as well that's a little more outdoorsy related than just Airsoft or firearms. But I didn't think that opportunity would arrive until several years down the road. And in many ways, unfortunately, the opportunity did arise because Niko here was unfortunately affected by Hurricane Helene. And I thought it would be pretty interesting from a preparedness standpoint. Just hearing a lot of his lessons learned, his account from what happened, and just seeing if there's maybe something we could learn from that as well. Again, for those older to the channel, this might be a bit odd, but I would say give it a shot, give it a listen, and maybe you can come away and learn something from it. So with that said, Hurricane Helene hit landfall in Florida by September 26th. We are recording this on October 14th, so we're looking at a couple weeks after the fact. I guess for starters, Niko, introduce yourself a little bit, talk about, I don't know how much detail you want to give about where you live, but try to talk about as much as you're willing to about your community, where you're from, and what it was like before the storm.
So definitely, I can definitely give the most generalistic aspect. Okay. So Western North Carolina, this small town that I live in is mainly a tourist attraction or a resort location.
Yeah.
So by that I mean already sub 2,000 population.
Right. Kind
of isolated, but kind of not. There is money being put into this location through a good tourism, a predictable tourism. So people know the location, they know all the routes, basically, on the general aspect, and what is actually provided in this small town.
Yeah.
So there is infrastructure, but there's not a hard line infrastructure saying like the absolute opposite end spectrum would be like Atlanta, Charlotte,
yeah.
Raleigh. Those are more hardcore.
Now I would also say what's particular about your community is most of the people, the permanent residents, live in very elevated positions, so hilltops, sides of hills, not at the base of valleys, which is a bit different from some other communities in Western North Carolina, correct?
Yeah, so it is on a mountaintop.
Yeah.
So then they built up. There are some houses on the very bottom of the valley, but then we get more infrastructure the higher up in elevation you go.
Yeah.
And
we'll talk about that later, but that definitely impacted you guys in a very different way than you saw other communities
yes.
impacting the mountains for sure. Another thing I would say is for those permanent residents there, how would you say you were in terms of a community? Like how tight-knit were you guys? How much did you know your neighbors prior to this and whatnot?
So there is somewhat of a tight-knit and somewhat of the knowing of the community. The vast majority in their age population is going to be retirement age. Mm-hmm. So that means, for the very wealthy, 55 and up, or mainly it's going to be 60 to 80 is going to be their general population. So they're going to be more on the friendly side compared to the younger generation. However, these individuals, not only are they friendly, but they always ask other people if they needed anything throughout the week that was, stuck there.
Yeah, so that's good. So the pretty friendly population. So a lot of people know each other. How many people would you say you knew, like, by name that you regularly check on in that community? Like, hey, how's it going? What are you guys up to? Outside of, say, like, work or whatever.
Funny enough, I actually would keep to myself, but throughout this entanglement, it was funny recognizing people that from my work were actually living in that area or just visiting that area. It was funny enough, like seeing people in downtown almost.
Well, I mentioned that because I'm also very secluded in a lot of ways, and I think a lot of people in the world of preparing, trying to be more independent-minded, it's kind of a side effect of that, which is kind of a drawback because you can't do everything yourself, especially in an emergency situation.
Yeah.
And a community is able to succeed by being a community, right? You interact with each other. So I know that was something we'll talk about later about learning lessons, but I was just trying to get a baseline of prior to everything. Moving on, so before any talk of Helene coming your guys' way, what would you say your situation of preparedness was? Just well-rounded in terms of, I mean, obviously we talk about firearms a lot.
Yeah.
If from that to food to water, communications, like from philosophy, plans, just any topic you want to talk about in terms of the world of being prepared or being independent. What would you say your situation is?
The one sentence is we were solid for about like a 3-day struggle.
Okay, so
by that I meant we had definitely enough clean water, enough toilet water. That's another key thing I'll bring up later. Enough clean water, enough toilet water, and definitely enough food, but we would rather use the perishables first. So before Helene, we were used to at maximum 8 to 10 hours without power.
Right.
So that means fridge was still going to be completely fine, still plenty of candles, we running water out the wazoo. So everything that I had was in the midst of at maximum being stuck up here for 3 days, because by 3 days, ideally, if there was snowed in, there would be enough plows to clean up everything, because this location requires a lot of skiers or money.
Yeah.
So if people can't get out of their homes or rentals to ski, the town's not making money.
Yeah.
So that was what a lot of the recovery aspects money was focused on.
Yeah. So you bring up a couple points that I see there. So one is, so due to the environment you're in, with, snow and in the wintertime, ice, and then just power outages throughout, because you do live in the mountains, it sounds like 3 days is what you guys have in terms of perishables, which funny enough, you make that sound like that's a good start, and I would say it's not, and yet it's still better off than a lot of people, especially even in the mountains, right?
Yeah.
As we've unfortunately been saying, even if your home was not destroyed, a lot of people just did not have any supplies even going into day like 2 or 3, right? And it's very terrifying. In the meantime, there are people who were very well off, and as long as their house was still standing with their supplies, a lot of people have been able to make do. But it is interesting. So 3 days is what you're saying. I know I'm in the same boat house, but I know in terms of communications, I mean, in terms of ham radio, satellite phones, nothing. And I know you're the same.
Yeah. Bill, Fang.
Yeah, which really help, because what frequencies will we even know to get in touch with? I think perishables is definitely the thing most people gravitate towards, because it's the easiest to understand, and quite frankly, it's the most important directly. Like, you need to have food and water. Yeah. So people say, let's store food and water first, and then branch out to other stuff.
Now, what I mean by perishables, I mean things in the fridge that are going to expire. Now, for the actual long-term food, I had 30 packs of MREs and 3 of Mountain House. Mountain House requires hot boiling water, and
okay. So sorry. So that's what I was mentioning in terms of preparedness. Okay. Like the fridge and stuff doesn't count. That we will talk about.
Yeah,
that.
No. Well,
but so that sounds like you actually have more than 3 days. It sounds like you have closer to a week if you have the water for the Mountain House.
Yeah. So I mean, and the reason I say that the perishables from a fridge, what ended up happening is that my father and I was living with me at the time. We split MRE, and then we would eat the perishables from the fridge or from the freezer fridge. Yeah. So that means any meat that was going to be spoiled, we would do that, and then we would ration out the MREs. So technically, if we just did not do anything excessive and just ration our calories, we could have stretched those 30 packs for instead of 15 and 15, we could have split it up for a good. Yeah, it could be like 20 or something like that.
20 days or 20 meals?
About like 20 meals, yeah. Instead of 15 meals for 2 people, we could split it to about 20 meals. Okay. Now that's not smart by any means as rationing, and it's dangerous, but all that we were doing is just sitting in the house.
Yeah. So that would have given you at least close to a week.
Yeah.
So okay, cool. In terms of now, prior to the storm, any prep for the storm. So how much of it did you know about the storm coming? How much did the community know about it? What did you see before it hit your guys' location?
everybody thought that was just going to be staying in Georgia. So
Okay.
what I meant by that, I mean that there was barely any kind of preparation.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very, got to work. It was kind of sketchy. I was feeling kind of sketchy. And then all of a sudden,
No. Why do you say it was feeling kind of sketchy?
that it was just a hurricane getting up into Georgia.
Okay.
So prior, we had on North Carolina,
Yeah.
there are hurricanes that we get the remnants of.
Mm-hmm.
In comparison to our location between here and Georgia, it's kind of not really, with Atlanta, I should say. It's not really like the coast, like, Savannah, Georgia, or I think it's Savannah, Georgia's a big, that's one. Atlanta's probably like it's central. So I thought we're going to be hit with a, 1 day without power.
Okay, so as you're saying, so were there any evacuation orders, or was there any warning or any public announcements about the hurricane coming? Like any guidance at all from any state or local authorities?
There was only a curfew.
When was that announced?
That curfew was that Wednesday, the 26th.
Six?
20,
I think it's 20.
26th? 27th.
I think that was 25th or 26th. Okay, so but the point being,
Is that
very early on, actually.
Yeah, so it was a curfew for that night when the hurricane was just coming, just about to get into that area.
Have you ever seen a curfew been implemented in your area before?
No, and that was during bad snowstorms. By bad snowstorms, I mean like people being on the sides of the roads and stuff like that.
Yeah. So you have seen it in the past. So when you heard about it, you were like, okay, they're getting ahead of it, And did that like perk your attention at all about how serious this might be, or what?
That perked I gotta get the hell home.
Okay. So did you hear that at work?
Yes.
Oh, did you clock out early?
So I was instructed the store was to be closed at 6 p.m.
Okay.
2 hours before the curfew was to be initiated.
Okay.
So that's when, and then before that it was like around like 3:30 or 4 p.m. And so just me and the team just had to shut everything down as quickly as possible.
So did you actually get home before it started raining?
It was raining as I was going home, but
Okay.
it wasn't torrential downpour. It was just a fairly steady. I still had visibility,
Mhm.
but it was kind of like and I still had visibility and light.
Yeah.
So it was still safe to go home.
So it's actually not too bad. I'm glad to hear that your local community was actually proactive enough to make sure people actually at home instead of
Yeah.
somewhere else and shutting down workplaces and whatnot. But did you see any other prep with like emergency services or local service, like their trucks or anything?
No.
Okay. Okay, so at this point, let's do it day by day. Just talk about it from a chronological standpoint, from left to right, from the first time you first got impacted. Let's say it's when you got home from work that day, which was the 26th probably. I believe that's probably what it was.
Yeah.
To you actually being able to leave that area.
Okay. So chronology. So that Wednesday. I know numbers, but the only thing I remember is my days. So Wednesday, Thursday, at 7:02 a.m. we lost power and cell service.
Okay, so before that, what was the storm looking like outside your front of your house?
Just a on and off rainstorm.
Okay, so nothing too crazy,
No.
but the power still went out. And you said internet service went out.
That next day, yeah.
That's at 7:02 a.m.
Yep.
Thursday.
Yes.
Okay. Got it. So it just a normal but long storm throughout the night, and when you woke up in that morning, things just went out. Okay. Keep going.
So 7:02, I was still asleep. My
Okay.
dad was awake. He came up to me at 7:30. I was just about to get ready for work, and he told me to contact my mom because no power, and he wasn't getting cell service. And I thought that was extremely strange.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought it was strange that, well, not too strange that I had weak bars, but I just had enough power to send a message to her saying we're fine. And then after that, I wanted to text my boss. I thought this was gonna be just a regular day.
Yeah.
Like we'll just swing through it. Tried to contact my boss about what's going on, and I couldn't get the message out. So I was like, okay. My father before he lost power and entered service, he said, it's just going to blow over at 12:30.
Mm-hmm.
He saw the radar, he knows where the trajectory is, we'll be fine, we're just going to wait it out.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what we're doing for the first, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, just, sitting in the living room, just, closing my eyes, just catching up on sleep, because it was, steady rainfall or whatever.
Yeah.
And then the heavy winds and rain was really kicking in, and then we were playing it like tourists ourselves, standing right next to or in front of the tall pane glass windows, thinking everything's fine.
So you're saying the wind started to pick up?
Yeah.
What time is this? Still on Thursday?
It is still Thursday. I'd say about 9:30 was when the winds were really picking up.
Okay. Continue. What are how bad we're talking about these winds?
As in, the winds were sending branches into projectiles at the window to the point that we thought it was going to shatter.
So was it sending it toward the glass because it was falling from the trees above? Because I know how you. Okay. So
yeah, no, there was one distinctive that it broke off and was sent like a projectile into. It hit the window, but it still wasn't enough force to break it.
Yeah, because the reason I say this, it's bad either way that branches are falling, but it's one thing to fall from nearby trees near your house straight down. The way you're saying projectile, I feel like you're saying a couple yards over there, that branch is coming at you at a 45-degree angle.
Yes.
It was?
Yes.
Really?
It broke off the tree and was sent like a projectile through the wind. It was sent to the window.
Did you ever get a number to the miles per hour these winds were hitting in your area?
Only later on.
Later on.
But yeah, we got a sort of kind of reading.
What was it?
Somebody else through word of mouth. It was the 65 to 70.
Okay.
And then the wind graph broke off, and then the last reading was at 101.
Yeah, and I mean, in moments like that, it's like once that starts hitting, I mean, there's still a choice, but at the end of the day, being in a car probably isn't it. At that point, you need to seek shelter.
Yep. So the only thing else that I can give you a cool kill reading. So my father on the porch has a those not stainless, but those cast iron grills like the
I know
one of those hardware.
Yeah.
4 wheels.
Yep.
All wheels are locked.
Yep.
The wind went underneath the grill cover, lifted this grill up enough to send it into the railing of the deck, hard enough that it warped the steel.
So I know what your porch looks like. Where was the grill? Was it on like the left side closer to your fireplace?
So it was more on the right hand side.
Okay, and it went toward the fireplace.
It went more right. So instead of going to the fireplace, it went right and it blocked off part of the porch.
At that little corner?
Yes.
Wow. And was the wood porch all right?
Yeah, the deck was fine.
But you're saying that grill just started to crumble?
Yes, on the corners, yeah.
So it dented the grill. How far did that go? Is that like 2 yards? That's it?
About a yard.
So,
yard and a half,
1 yard, and it was enough to just slam that thing and dent it?
Yes.
Wow, okay. Yeah, that's pretty insane.
And it lifted it up on all wheels.
Yeah, you got very lucky that glass didn't bust.
Oh yeah, no, if it was in any more way, it would have broken the glass.
As a matter of fact, given how much glass you have on the side of your porch, I wonder if that's a learning lesson on, hey, if you hear high winds coming, maybe
don't stand next to it.
Well,
that's the thing.
I was thinking put plywood up just to protect your
or plywood, yeah. But plywood that'll be another thing whenever there's gonna be a pretty good hurricane, definitely just zip up the screws and just call it a day. But
it sounds like you got lucky there. That's very terrifying.
No. Yeah. Well, and that's another thing too, because this is my first actual natural disaster.
Yeah.
As a child, we're taught don't stand in front of the windows.
Yeah, like for tornadoes.
Like tornadoes.
Yeah.
And even though that I know, I just went into primitive mode and stood in shock.
Yeah, because everyone wants to see the spectacle in a lot of ways, but it is dangerous when flying projectiles come
Yes,
at you.
clearly, and that's another thing that on the sideline of remember your childhood training and don't stand in front of those.
I mean, and it sounds silly, but you're not wrong. Because for me, I wasn't even thinking about that either. Because for me, we do have a lot of hurricanes closer to the coast.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. I mean, we don't have as big windows, but I'm constantly taking peeks, seeing what's going on out there. You know, so if it got bad enough, you want to keep away from the window. So that's a good learning point. So to continue on. So this is still the 27th,
This is still Thursday.
Yeah, Thursday.
So
Sorry. Yeah.
This the grills probably took lift off at 10 a.m. I think 10 a.m. And by 10, I was actually starting to think like, is this thing ending at 12?
Mm-hmm.
So there was a certain point of just being antsy, like cabin fever, but I guess hurricane fever because it was just like this has to end. By then we were hearing trees falling, but we didn't know exactly when, or not when, but where. I can't tell you exactly when trees were actually falling, like actual trees.
So describe that, because I've heard and seen a tree fall of various sizes, but you're indoors and you can't see where it is, and you're still hearing it over X amount of mile per hour winds and rain.
Yeah.
So describe that experience.
So it was, I guess the cracking, that was kind of like what we were used to, but it was just it was more of a drowned out thump.
Yeah.
Because these trees are also being caught by other branches and just keeping up with widowmakers.
Could you hear the thump, or could you feel it?
It was more of hearing it.
Okay.
Because none of them landed close enough to the house.
Yeah.
But it was definitely hearing it.
Even that, if you can't see it from your windows and you can still hear it, that's still pretty impressive.
Yeah. The other things we were doing, we were counting what are called widowmakers.
Mm-hmm.
So back during, not pioneer, but 1800s when they were cutting down trees,
right.
Branches that would be caught on other live trees, those branches would stick there until they would fall through wind gusts or at any point in time, and they would land on people. That's why I call it widowmakers.
Yeah.
And there were a few ones around the house, but of course that was just to keep track of those. Mm-hmm. Later on, we'll only see that there were also widowmakers, like branches, being stuck like perpendicular into the ground.
Wow.
Yes. Like it was sent like a projectile into the earth.
So something was like leaning already on it, right? So 45 degrees.
Yeah.
And how did the sticker? You talking about the?
Oh no, I'm talking about later on going through the different neighborhoods. I guess it was either broken off and had a spiral, or broke off and then broke again and was sent down.
So almost
these were sticks.
It's almost like chucking a spear.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, these were just like.
What was the biggest one you saw stuck into the ground, standing on its own?
The biggest one that I noticed was about a silver dollar diameter and about
So about
3 feet.
3 feet.
About 2.5, 3 feet.
That's still terrifying. How many of these did you see? Like dozens, hundreds?
Oh no, that was just the one that I saw.
Okay.
The one that I can say I saw and remember distinctly. Yeah.
Okay. So maybe not as many, but it was happening. Like the projectiles were very dangerous out there. Yeah. Okay. Anything else about Thursday?
Thursday by 12:30, 12:45, the heavy winds and rain finally stopped, and we waited long enough until we're actually able to leave the house just to assess the damages in the area.
So, with some change, within 24 hours of the storm getting in your area, the direct storm was pretty much gone, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. That's something I keep forgetting about, something this tragic and this ginormous is all the damage I see when it comes to the rain and the wind. A lot of it seems to be very quick in terms of how quickly, within 24 hours. The problem is in areas with a lot of the flooding and stuff, the water just stays there. And then it is really just to clean up afterwards. It's so devastating.
Yeah. And another thing, so the main hurricanes kind of stopped at let's just round it up at 1. It was still raining for the next 3 days.
AM or PM?
PM.
Okay, but as you said, so it was still raining.
Rain was still on and off for the next 3 days after that.
Okay.
So it was just to the point of I know this kind of sounds childish, but kind of almost desperation. We need to stop raining. Yeah. Because we didn't know how much more in the ground around this would take. Yeah.
So I mean, your family and our family are pretty close. So I know when I was talking with your mother about this, she was saying an issue with that extra 3 days of rain was even though you guys were on the hilltop, and even though the wind had stopped with a lot of these trees and widowmakers and whatnot, the ground was becoming so permeated and saturated in the water that it was like a muggy mess even on the hilltop.
Yeah.
And if you weren't careful, a lot of these trees were still falling over days later.
Yes.
Okay.
So before we jump to that, so Thursday it was still kind of like everything settled. We were assessing damages. The location I live at, there's not enough dirt. It's mainly rock.
Right.
So when we got the heavy rainfall, instead of being seeping into the earth and making a lot of mudslides that way, it would instead get underneath the roots of trees and wash it out, and then make mudslides with those uprooted trees. There was one location that a woman, I believe either her boyfriend or her husband in the area as well, or living with her, her house was barricaded by fallen trees.
Define like all.
So as in, we have this massive oak tree.
Mm-hmm.
By massive, I mean it's pretty large, falling towards her house. It did not hit her house. It did land on her vehicle. So in short, now her vehicle is fine, but it's out of action at the moment.
Yeah.
Then you have another tree that fell in. So now you can't leave this way, you can't leave that way, so our entire driveway is blocked off now.
Mm-hmm.
So that means if there was search and rescue that had to get her, they would have to be offset.
Yeah.
It couldn't be as close as possible. And then another entryway was also barricaded by another tree that was kind of on her house, or just off of it. So in short, she could not get a used motor transportation to leave, and she was in a kind of precarious location to leave on our 2 feet. So that's what I mean by it's kind of barricaded.
Yeah. Now, how far away was this from your house?
Block.
A block.
Block and a half.
Did you see any of it happen, or was it only after days later when you walked?
Oh, it was
outside?
only after. It was only after like 1 p.m.
Got it.
That Thursday. Yeah.
Okay, so you guys started exploring outside of your property
Yes.
after 1 p.m. on Thursday?
Yes.
Okay, and it would still sprinkle on and off, but you guys
Yes.
would go outside and start checking things out?
Yes.
And you discovered that on Thursday as well?
Yes.
Did you check on her, or did you see her kind of outside?
I kind of saw her on the outside.
Okay, yeah. Anything else for Thursday? Anything else you saw?
A lot of down power lines. There was nobody. There was one person trying to drive.
Okay.
And we couldn't. I was incorrect. I'm getting my days mixed up. I'm sorry. Because now I'm trying to remember. We could not get to her house until Friday.
Okay.
Because on one road it was washed out.
So I know where you live. Are you talking about from your house perspective?
From my house perspective, yeah. So we go out here, we hang.
Go
we
to
do
the
that curve.
go to the paved road.
Yeah, and then we got that T intersection.
Yep.
We go left, and our immediate left, it was washed out to a waterfall. So yes.
So what define that? So because I know what that looks like. It's
So-
for those who haven't seen images of this, it's so weird to say that the road is gone. Like, what do you mean the road's gone?
So by that I mean we have this little mountainside.
It's a 2-lane road. It's about what, 20 feet wide, 30 feet wide.
Yeah, enough for a dump truck on one side can drive on it safely.
And was the cement just gone? Or
So the water was running down. This water is supposed to go underneath the road into a culvert so underneath certain sections of the road it's underneath the road. There are things called culverts, which is basically a massive water pipe that's supposed to allow water a natural way to flow and down into a more man-made stream. It's an artificial stream, but a man-made stream, to prevent things like this from happening, like with water building up on one side and then rolling over.
Yeah.
These culverts had so much debris, as in rocks, clay, branches, leaves, that not enough water could go through, so water was piling up to the point water was now traveling across the road through its own most easiest or natural way of travel, and was going over on the north side of the road.
So the cement was there, just so much debris and crap on it?
Yes, yeah, the cement was still there.
How high do you think the debris was?
I don't know. I didn't go over there to check. However, I'm going to correct myself. The majority of the road was there. However, because now we have this runoff, this runoff was eating away on the asphalt on the other side, to the point that it was structurally unsound, and part of the asphalt was caving in and going into the culvert.
Got it. Okay, so so on paper, I know what you're talking about now.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yep. And water was still rushing over it as well. Yeah. Okay.
We did not cross that because we didn't know how much of the asphalt was still sound.
Yeah. Maybe if you're more desperate, but until then, you weren't going to attempt it. And then the other side of the road.
On the other side was that, but extremely worse.
Okay.
I say extremely worse because now this side of the road, it was a straightaway. This side of the road, it was on a bend. So more water was piled up in that section, and it picked up more. And it was pretty much the same story, but it was just an actual rushing water that was not safe to drive.
Got it. So you got some footage you showed me earlier, and I'll overlay it later, of once you get out of your neighborhood roads, it all goes to that one main road that goes uphill one way
and down,
and then downhill the other. Now you go downhill to get to the other hilltop where your town's community center is, right?
So we take this road, winding road, to get on the main.
Yeah.
Going up goes to the town center.
Okay, so it's going up.
Going down takes us to the more resorts.
Yeah, but going down is also the way to get out of town, right? Or is it the other side of the hilltop?
Going up is how you get out of town.
Okay.
Going down, you can, but it's through back roads and side streets.
So, and then part of that problem is...
So going up would take us to the town council.
Right.
Going down, and town council and the main way to get out. And then going down goes to the resorts.
Yeah.
And a back way out.
Yep, and we'll get to it in later days because you probably didn't discover this yet. But because of both routes on the other side of those hilltops were both blocked for X amount of time, resulting in you guys being completely isolated on essentially the hilltop and then your little small hilltop that connected to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Are you now moving into Friday?
Yes.
Okay.
Because Thursday was just consolidating food, trying to cook and stuff like that.
Okay, well, let's talk about that. So the idea is the storm finally passes, you poke your head outside between a couple of showers, you see the damage, and you're like, all right, let's head back inside. Let's realize that we're kind of blocked in for a good bit here.
Yep.
Let's start consolidating supplies. So talk about that.
Tuna sandwiches.
Canned tuna?
Canned tuna.
Alrighty.
And with a burrito wrap. With a mayonnaise and relish.
Yeah, so your power's out and your internet's out, so fridge is down. Is your water done yet?
We still had fresh water.
Okay, and then is your stove gas powered? Use your stove? Electric, so no go. Right. Now if you had a gas stove, it would still work?
It would still work because it'd be on propane.
Yeah.
Propane would be separate.
Kind of important from a preparedness standpoint, especially when we had a federal government attempt to ban gas stoves less than a year ago, it feels like. I'm pretty sure the Biden administration was looking into that, and I think it fell through. But hey, kind of interesting, right? One reason amongst me, I mean, I get it, this is not a common occurrence, but at the same time, in an emergency situation, you can use that without power, right? Like your fireplace, you could still use that at this point, right?
Yes, we could. Now, my caveat to that propane, because this is a few days later, so I'll touch more about this, but a neighbor had a propane leak in their tank.
Because of damages?
Yes.
All right.
It was so much that it was such a damage that you could smell the propane.
Was it inside the smell or was it outside?
It was outside.
Okay,
so there was this massive propane tank that he would use to probably heat his house along with.
Could you see the hole, or was it just?
No.
Okay.
Because I didn't want to stick around and ask too many questions because I've never handled this before.
Okay, let's talk about that. So how far away was his house from yours?
three and a half blocks.
Okay, so you didn't find out about this till probably like just before you left.
Days, yeah, a day before we left.
How far away? So it was cracked from the hurricane. So for 3 days it was leaking.
Yes.
And how far away could you smell the gas?
So his house, that propane, we had to go up. So I could smell about 20 feet.
Okay.
Like snowballs throw.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but still, 20 feet 3 days later, no matter how small of a crack it is, if you could smell it, I mean, obviously any leak's dangerous. But
Yeah.
No, but yeah, I mean, that's definitely a trade-off.
So I mean, it's just, I understand the propane, but it's that caveat that if you're going to have it, you also now have to think about its structural integrity as well.
And it's
having a shed.
Yeah. Like maybe, I don't know about gas, but like what are your options about like an underground or a cement one or whatnot. But yeah, I mean, for sure. Now, but you did have the gas option for your fireplace if it got cold enough, which it really never did. Like you guys never used it, did you?
To heat the house?
Yeah.
We didn't. The only way to heat the house is still electric.
So even the gas fireplace wouldn't have helped at all?
We're thinking about a hypothetical?
Yeah.
Hypothetical, I mean, I don't know how much of a range that gas stove will work.
Got it. Okay.
Because we're on electric heating,
Mhm.
so that means rewiring or rekabling everything else.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, like, if all else fails, you can use the fireplace. But it sounds
Oh,
like
the fireplace, yeah. All else fails, yeah, the fireplace would heat up a good bit, yeah.
Okay.
The regular wood.
yeah, but
fireplace,
you did not need to use it. It did not get that cold. But
No.
you said tuna sandwiches,
Yeah.
and that was because you were trying to go through the fridge and some of the canned goods you didn't have designated for emergencies.
Yeah.
Just trying to eat through that first.
Yeah, because
Okay.
we thought that this is gonna be, okay-ish.
Yeah.
Because we didn't understand what the roads were like outside. We were still thinking 2 blocks.
Right.
We did not understand the scope.
So
Just yet.
right now you're trying to keep the fridges closed. You're not even grabbing stuff as fast as you can right now.
We are.
Okay.
So we've
Okay, so
been
you
through
are.
power outages.
Okay.
We knew, grab the mayonnaise real quick. Grab this real quick.
Okay.
So we've been through power outages plenty of times.
Mhm.
So we just kept that same repertoire.
And then did you guys have like designated meal times, or was it more like, I'm hungry, I want to go grab something?
Not so much meal times, but definitely designated. If he's going to eat, then I'm going to eat no matter what.
Got it.
So that way we don't keep opening and closing the fridge.
Got it. Okay. And that was Friday, right? Or Thursday?
That was still Thursday.
Okay.
Friday, so now Thursday was the tuna. Friday was when the water subsided enough on the left-hand side for it to be safe to cross on foot.
Okay.
That's when we saw the barricaded house.
Got it. Okay.
And that's when we were also trying to figure out a good place to get cell phone service.
Okay.
All day Thursday, I didn't contact my mother, so she
Right.
didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
So it was only till Friday that we were able to find. We had to ask people around in that whole area, and then we were paying attention to the guy on the cell phone. It was like, okay, let's hang around on this, side of the road to get more text out. The scope of damages, a lot of trees on power lines.
Yeah.
Power lines down on the road. And we still kept our travel limited because we kind of figured nobody had power, but we
Yeah.
didn't know if down power lines were alive or not. So we still self-barricaded ourselves, our own safety.
Yeah.
Until we saw people driving over it. I was kind of just like, you know what, if they could drive over, I think it should be okay. But my father at the time was still like, no, let's not do it.
Well, it's funny because I would say it's probably, maybe this just comes from ignorance, but I would assume it's safer to drive over a power line
Than
than
walk.
physically stepping on it. Yeah.
Or it's not about stepping on it, but stepping around it.
You're right.
Because the vehicles are grounded, we are not.
Yeah.
So
is this the point where you got on the main road and realized, even the main
No.
road? No.
So
what
we're
stopped you?
still on like the road leading to the main road.
So what's stopping you from going further at this point?
The down power line.
Okay.
So we didn't know about that, but we were told that the other way is sort of kind of safe to go across. It's been cleared.
So
we were told, oh yeah, we cleared it from debris. It's fine. So we got into.
So who told you that?
One of Oh, it was a stranger. I don't know.
Just
if
a
he
random
worked I didn't know if he worked. He was in the car,
Okay.
but I didn't know if he worked for a town or if he was just a neighbor.
So dressed normally, no markings on the car.
No.
Got it. Okay.
Average Joe.
So you were now 1.5, getting close to 2 days in, still no emergency service, no local government authorities of any kind.
Not the police department, the fire department. We sort of kind of knew that lines were safe to drive across because an emergency, not the actual fire engine, but one of those supporting
Little pickup
fire
trucks.
rescue,
Yeah.
was able to drive across.
When was this?
That was still that Friday.
So Friday morning, afternoon?
Yeah, morning-ish, afternoon-ish.
And you saw one of those driving within eyesight of your house?
Yes.
Okay.
He drove next to us.
Oh, I'm surprised you run out just to say, hey, once you finish your emergency, can we talk? Or anything like that? Nothing?
No, we kind of just let him be.
Okay, got it. Okay, so the power lines that, so from your house to the main road, following any road route, what is that, like a mile difference? Or 2?
Oh, from here to that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say about like. Okay, so from my house to that power line or what?
No, your house to the main.
To the main?
If you used.
About just over like a mile and a quarter.
Okay.
Because later on we finally counted steps.
Yeah, and then how far were we able to get so far? Like a quarter of a mile?
Yeah, about quarter to third of a mile.
So you still had a mile to go to get to the main road, and you still were unsure about the status of the main road.
Or in any kind of walking condition.
Yeah, though it does make sense because you're talking about eventually getting to figuring out which roads were closed.
Yeah.
The top of the other hilltop of your community center was more available, so it makes sense that the fire service was actually able to go down the hill and come down and get back up, just not go down and back either way.
Yeah, there's 2 locations for the fire services.
Yeah.
The lower side by the resort, and one closer towards the far back end side.
Yeah, but that far back end was probably still closer to that uphill. Like they were trapped with you guys.
So the closest one would be the resort.
Yeah, but were they stuck on your side or were they stuck on the resort side?
They were stuck. They were with our side.
Okay,
so,
okay, got it.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is Friday. So you finally have seen some sort of local emergency service.
Yes.
They can kind of get to you if you have to.
Yes.
You're still not sure about power lines. It's still sprinkling and raining. Some of the road integrity you're worried about. Is this when the water went out?
No. Water went out Saturday.
Okay, so you're still good on water, and you're still just picking stuff out through the fridge, trying to eat it before it goes bad.
Yes.
So you haven't really broken into your actual emergency supplies yet.
We broke into emergency supply, the MREs about Friday-ish, actually.
Okay.
Friday-ish, yeah, because we were splitting up the food.
And was that just because of just trying to get different taste, or
hot dogs and chili. So there was a chili. My father wanted more, spice to his diet, so he broke up into chili MRE. So it was chili dogs.
Okay, so it was more out of a desire than a desperation for now. But you have started to break into them. Okay.
Yeah.
And then, did you get any cell phone coverage at this point yet?
No, it was Saturday.
Okay, so anything else you want to add for Friday?
Friday was, so the video that you're going to overlay with that waterfall, that was Friday. And we did not go that far.
I thought that, okay, I might be thinking about a couple of different videos you showed me, because one of them you showed me is right where that park was, but that was on the main road.
No, so there's only the one video that I take of showing the road.
So that's still within your neighborhood, per se.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
I think I know which bin you're talking about now. Okay.
Oh, we'll check the timestamp. It's either gonna be that Friday. I'm pretty sure it's that Friday because we turned back around. Yeah.
Okay. I made you describe that for nothing then, because I thought that video was for something else. Okay, got it. So that's pretty vicious for that small neighborhood. Okay, so before we go into Saturday, you're now going through a couple of nights now. Anything happening at night? Like, did you just sleep through anything? Like, did you hear anything at night?
No.
Okay.
It was dead quiet at night.
Okay, so now we're going into Saturday, which we just timestamped that video, so Saturday will be the 28th.
Yeah.
Right, so going into Saturday morning.
Saturday, the water receded enough to cross it. And then, yeah, I think it was starting to crumble. It was starting to crumble, but none of the road fell on that side. And then there was going to be another photo they can put up with a time with date stamp. And I think it should be that Saturday of another location where half of the road was gone.
Yeah, and this is still within your neighborhood, unable to get to the main road.
Yeah, and then this is just shy of the main road.
Mm-hmm.
So we finally got to the main road. Main road was cleaned up. No, it was really good cleaned up, I should say. Both lanes were open to go up and down, which is fine.
Sorry, this is kind of a side tangent, but even if the second the storm passed, the main storm, if there was ever an emergency where you had to get to the main road, could you make it by foot? Like just going through people's yards in the neighborhood, through the forest and stuff?
Yes.
Okay.
If you had to push it, and this is the actual true caveat, if you had to push it and you had the endurance to get out of here by foot day one, you could.
Yeah. The problem would be if you actually had to leave like that, you're probably carrying someone else and carrying a rock or something. And that's,
yeah, you would have the actual physical endurance.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I was just curious. Because, the thing is like, this is very worrying for sure. Yeah. Lives could be at risk. But at the same time, it's not people eating each other alive right now.
So the next town over is 10 miles. So that means you have to climb up the whole mountain to climb back down again. Yeah. So again, actual physical endurance.
Now we'll get to it, but once you start getting out of there and seeing your broader community still isolated, you're saying even in isolation, individuals, if they actually were able to, they could, ruck in and out of there if they had to. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. It's really just the damage to the roads and getting supplies.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So sorry. Back to the top. So Saturday.
Saturday, the roads were open enough to drive to both the top and the bottom to figure out what's going on with the supplies, to finally get a cell service to call. And
now the cell service, was that right there on the main road?
Whatever we're going to do. So by that I mean there's only one specific location. So we have 2 cell towers in the downtown. None of them were working.
Of course.
So you had to go onto a side bit of a road to somehow get a bounce off from another cell station that was nowhere near here.
And were you just had your phone out and just stared at the bar?
Yes.
Got it.
That was the only way.
Yeah, because I know you, by Saturday, for some reason, it was pretty ignorant of me, especially as a friend, where I was busy doing stuff in my own life, working. So I know the hurricane hit. And then social media slowly started coming in around, at least on my feed, around Friday, I think Thursday evening, really Friday, was when I see a lot of devastation. And when I started to see Asheville get torn up, that's when I said, hey, when was the last time I heard from Niko? And it's funny because the second I thought that our mutual friend, I'm not going to say his name, hit us up in a chat and said, hey, Niko, is still alive? And I thought, well, why did he? Oh, shoot. Because you were so far, I'm not going to say your location, but so far in a different corner from the rest of the storm, I didn't think you would be affected in that way. But it turns out you very much were.
Yeah.
And that I shot you a text in that same chat saying, hey, are you okay? And you never responded. And at that same time, my mother reached out to me because your mother called her, giving her an update because you found that one bar and shot a couple of calls out to her, your mother getting updates on it. So I'm sure she was worried sick. And then I called her and she called me and just, playing the telephone game at that point. And that's how it went from there. So anything else for Saturday? So you finally got signal.
Saturday was when we lost water.
Right, so what time?
It was whenever I was able to get that phone call out to Mom.
So did the water go out before the phone call, after the phone call?
After the phone call, which was the greatest irony.
Yes.
Oh yeah, we're good, we've got water. It was actually, I think it was also that Saturday, between Friday and Saturday, a key thing, we had, I don't know who it is, but a pilot in a 2-seater helicopter, personal helicopter, landing food and supplies and water off. And right behind one of the restaurants on the ski resort.
So you saw this. Hey, Michael. Hey. So you... Sorry, Paul. Sorry. Take it. So you personally saw the helicopter that Friday to Saturday?
Yeah. So they were flying over my house and they were landing.
And I'm trying to figure out where this restaurant is. It up the hill?
It's up the hill.
Got it.
So I've got.
But it's not on the top of all the community center yet?
No, it's not that very tippy top.
It's
It's
about
kind of
halfway.
like. Oh no, it's kind of like so. On the one side and on the other side, it plateaus.
Right.
It's there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, and yeah, you're saying a civilian two-seater. So far you found a random stranger in a pickup truck. You did see a local fire emergency truck, not an engine, but one of their trucks. And now you're seeing a civilian plane personally flying.
Yeah, helicopter, and in the resort section, the owners of those resorts were giving out free food, water, and beer.
Oh, okay. So let's pause it. So you finally are able to largely get out of your neighborhood.
Yeah.
You get the signal. You give your mother the update. Before you start exploring more, which gave out first, the water, or did you explore the community first?
We should explore the community.
Okay, so
Got the cell phone out.
okay, so when that's happening, because I largely know where you live,
Okay.
when you walk out of the area with yourself, are you just doing it by foot? Like, are you walking? You're walking, right?
Oh, to these locations?
Yes.
No, we're in a vehicle.
Okay, so how did you get the vehicle from that point? Were the roads cleared enough by
The
then?
roads were clear enough, yeah.
And it's not because people cleared it; it's because just things subsided.
The water kind of subsided enough. Yeah.
Got it. So you guys are being
And yes, between us, I didn't realize this until later on within one of the meetings, but there were a group of young gentlemen, about late 20s or 30s, with chainsaws just going to people's places.
But none of
Carrying
them.
out.
But none of them were directly, at least from what you could tell, maybe some, but none of them were wearing like fire engine uniforms or EMS, or it was just
These were good old boys.
These were just locals.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I only knew about them giving out food and water through an old Navy vet that was helping another older woman, widow,
when
with their toilet water.
when comms go down, it's word of mouth.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So okay, so you finally others have helping you. You're not really knowing what's happening because of communication, but others have helped open the way. You're now on the main way. You were traveling around, and now go back. So tell me what you find that Saturday. Some locations you found: the helicopter at the restaurant.
Yeah.
And then what else did you say you saw?
Police department were in full force.
Okay.
They were running through.
How many did you see?
The town only has a few working cars, but I think it was like a good 3 or 4 cars working. And funny enough, again, while we're in line for this food, a cop pulled up with 2 boxes of CC's pizza.
Yeah. So it does. So what's unique about your community, especially in this devastation, is because you guys are so small. A lot of your community services are isolated, consolidated single point, but it's consolidated single point on a hilltop, so it didn't get flooded out. So what that meant was, even though being isolated, you actually had the rare opportunity of your local government kind of being pretty proactive.
Yeah.
So okay, that's good. So you saw law enforcement. What else did you see?
It was law enforcement. It was restaurants, and it was, I think by then, dump trucks moving dirt.
Okay.
So that means part of the government is working enough
So
to try to start doing repairs.
why is that? Because your local government does not have a Department of Transportation to run those. That's the state Department of Transportation running those.
I suppose either the state or a county or something like that. Because there was a funny joke a few days later on, but it was again one of the locals from a construction crew said it might not be up to the DOT or Army Corps of Engineers standards, but screw them.
Yeah.
So
Do we gotta do? Okay, and those obviously were government places with the dump trucks and stuff. At some point.
at some point, it's either the actual local or county or something like that. Okay, no, these were government entities. So.
Well, I mean, it sounds like due to the way your community is set up, you were in a very unique situation where it sounds like you have a pretty decent relationship with your government services in this moment.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, they could probably have cleared your neighborhoods a little faster, but it's better because now that you've gotten internet access again for a couple of weeks now, I'm sure you've seen just as much as I have. Where that is quite the oddity, unfortunately, in comparison to a lot of other communities in Western North Carolina. But I mean, I'm glad to hear that your local government actually gave a shit, you know.
Oh yeah, no.
So let's keep it. So you saw seeing a lot of dump trucks dumping. What they just dirt or gravel? Was it dirt?
It was mainly dirt or debris. One of them had a culvert, so they were trying to. It was either that Saturday or one of those days, but at some point the dump trucks had culverts in them too, so they were trying to repair and repay stuff. Yeah.
Got it. And I also wonder is with trucks that big delivering that type of dirt and gravel and stuff, I wonder if a road outside the community had been opened by that point. Because I mean, do you know if you guys have dump points for that type of material in your own community?
I don't know about dump points, no.
Exactly. So I wonder if they started to open another road to get to you guys. Because there's another community much bigger than yours that was hit real hard that was in the news. I'm not going to say what it is, but you know which one. And they were way more isolated. So it's odd that it seems like they were getting more support to you guys. And it's probably just the luck of the route, perhaps. But no, that's very interesting. Anything else? So you just said so restaurants giving out free food, maybe some other free stuff.
Oh, beer.
Beer, yeah.
Yeah, one local breweries, they had growlers and they were just pouring out, yeah.
I'm starting to see why these days kind of phase into one. I'm sure you partook.
Yeah, I mean, just a little bit, just enough so that I could be, sober enough so I can, understand what's going on.
Got it.
But,
so I'm assuming at this point, so how big was the crowd at these locations?
We got there right at 1 p.m.
Okay, on Friday?
Saturday. On that Saturday.
Yeah.
And then by 2 or 3, if you got there later,
I mean, what was it like? Was it just a bunch of mercy services and onesies and twosies civilians coming by? Or was it like a bread line?
Was it?
Or was it like a freaking bread line?
It was a bread line.
Okay.
It was straight up a bread line to this guy with a flat top. Yeah.
How many people do you think you saw in that area? Because your community is only a couple thousand.
Yeah. There's gotta be a good, probably 20 to 30. By I was leaving. When I was leaving.
Oh, okay.
They were piling in about between 20 and 30.
Okay, well, 20 and 30 is actually a much smaller crowd than I would expect. Like the way you were talking, it sounded like it was close to a couple hundred. But
oh God, no.
Oh, okay,
no.
Okay. So 20 to 30, but also like 3 to 4 police cruisers full of police officers.
Yeah.
You saw the dump trucks coming by. Okay, that's not as desperate as I thought. But either way, it sounds like you're finally meeting other people.
Yeah, no, we were still in a slower season for tours.
Right.
So if it was going to hit, it was probably better to hit now because otherwise it was going to be even more young adults.
Right.
Stuck in a location.
Yep.
Getting nervous,
Yep. And then the next question is, when you see a crowd like that, I'm assuming the scuttlebutt and the rumors are going to start spreading. So what news did you hear from what other people were saying at this point?
That the entire power grid to my town was upended, uprooted, and there needed to be a whole recreation.
Yeah. I don't know if that's accurate, but I do say, a couple of weeks afterwards, I mean, that location is still not very well off. I mean, power has been restored.
Yeah.
So perhaps it wasn't that bad, but I mean, yeah, keep going.
Yeah, there was that. We heard that all roads leading out of here were completely washed, like the main highways, interstates.
Yeah, that was accurate.
Everything was completely washed out. We couldn't actually get out of here.
That's accurate.
Emergency services. We were hearing that there were already helicopters in the area flying people out of that location that had to be absolutely airlifted.
But they're saying in the area.
Yeah.
So they it's not like they were saying that community center up there had a helicopter pad.
No, there was not. There wasn't anybody actually going in an SUV with an air horn saying, if you have a man or a woman.
You saying that wasn't happening?
There was not.
Okay.
Yeah, there was nobody going door to door saying, if you have an emergency, get them out here.
Got it.
There was nothing. We were also told that on that Saturday, the cavalry's coming, the National Guard's coming.
So they said, hey, the National Guard's on the way. Did they give you a timeline?
No.
Okay. And then, did you ever talk to the cops, just kind of get a feel what kind of guidance they had or anything?
I honestly did not think about talking to emergency services because at that point they're just so focused on trying to make sure that other people weren't panicking, that if they got a young adult coming up to them asking, hey, when can I leave? They're probably just going to be like, not in a few days or something.
You're just trying to stay in your lane.
Yeah, I'm just trying to stay in my lane.
Okay.
I'm fine. We're good. I don't want to bring attention to myself. We're fine.
Yeah. Okay. Is that the end of Saturday? Well, then you get
And
home.
then I got home, and then I noticed that I'm always obsessive compulsive to wash my hands. So I got home, been touching all that stuff, turned on the faucet, and noticed that water pressure was down.
Got it. Did you hear anything from the crowd? They talking to you about the water already being out?
No.
Got it. Were they explicitly saying at least the water's still on? Were they saying?
They made no mention about water.
Got it.
The only thing they mentioned was on the sideline, people were going to be giving out water, or the National Guard was giving out water.
Got it. So, or National Guard would be when they got there. Is that the wording on that?
Yeah, it was like the wording was when the National Guard comes back with their supply runs. But funny enough, I didn't see a National Guard helicopter until days later. So that Saturday, I didn't see any Nat Guard.
Yeah, but they weren't acting like they're already there either. They're saying they're
no.
Okay.
No.
Okay, so it sounds like potentially the water situation occurred after you already left that crowd and then got back home.
Yeah.
So okay, and then so now that you know water's out, what did you guys do from there?
Fill the tubs. So that Saturday.
So you filled the tubs after the water ran out?
So no. So the water was still running.
Okay.
Long enough
Right.
for us to fill both bathtubs.
That Saturday?
Yeah.
Now, did you do it before you left to go visit locations?
Yeah. So that Saturday, that morning, everything was fine with water.
Yeah.
Just that late afternoon.
Okay, so in the morning you were like, hey, this is taking longer than we thought. Let's fill up the tubs.
We didn't start filling up the tubs till that 4 p.m. We didn't do anything with the tubs until close to the last second.
And when you did it at the last second, was it because you saw the water was given out?
Yes.
Okay, so so you noticed the water pressure was decreased.
Yes.
Got it. Okay, that makes more sense. I was a little confused by that. Okay, so the water pressure's decreased, and you're like, oh shit, something's about to happen.
Yes.
Then you fill up the tubs.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's definitely a big learning point because that's almost like an old like folks tale, and especially here in a lot of southern states of like any emergency you're in where you think water could be a threat or could be limited in water capabilities is to immediately just plug up your bathtub and just fill it up and just have that water. Same thing if you sink, spare bottles. So I mean, it was late, but at least you got it going and get that. So you have 2 tubs, right?
Yeah, 2 tubs. We just used that for toilet water.
Mm-hmm.
We just started grabbing any kind of like water container.
Smart.
And then we just started filling that up through the sink water.
Yeah. So did you fill everything up and then say, okay, we're good, or were you like halfway into one of the bottles and just the water pressure went to a drip?
It was with we filled up the bottles first, and then it was the bathtubs.
Okay.
And then it was through the bathtub that we saw that
it was down to a drip.
Yeah.
And did you just leave it running, or did you just?
No, we closed it
Got
because last thing we wanted to do is
Wake
wake
up.
up to air being pumped through the pipes on the last second. Like, oh shit, we blew the pipes on accident.
Okay, so you fill it up. You realize the water's done at this point. Anything else you and your dad were kind of putting your heads together on before bedding down for Saturday night?
Not at that moment.
Okay. And you guys haven't used a shower since
We haven't taken any showers.
since Thursday?
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. And you guys just bird bathing and stuff in the sink?
Basically.
Yeah. When was the last time you guys did laundry at this point?
Oh, probably that like Wednesday, thinking that everything was going to be fine. Yeah. Laundry was piling up.
Yeah, but I mean, did you guys still, like, was there ever a point within this week or so timeline that you're like, oh shoot, I'm out of clean underwear? Did that ever happen?
No, because as a personal life thing, I just have a bunch of socks and underwear.
Yeah.
I got like in first world problems, I still have too much clothes.
Yeah, well, you do say that, but at the same time.
But at the same time, like I didn't run out of clean clothes.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's interesting you say it because one, that's good that you identify that, but also there are a lot of people who wouldn't have enough spare clothes to last. You know what I mean? Some people are minimalistic. So that's also a good point, So, okay, so you bed down for Saturday night, going to Sunday, which is the 29th, I think?
Yeah.
Yeah, 29th. So what is that looking like?
29th, we got into town just trying to figure out like what the more food situations, what was being dispersed, and then we found out because there was definitely a secondary group meeting being held by not somebody on the town council,
Did you-
but a woman that was asking a lot of questions from the town council, and she held a separate meeting to disperse that information.
Okay, so you guys are moving up to the hilltop of the city, the community center is, and how many people do you think were crowding up around there when you arrived?
There was good, probably about, the entire parking lot is full, so at least probably like 20 cars. So if each car has like 2 people, so about like 40 to 50 people probably.
And again, the stress, your community is very small, so when you say the parking lot's full, like this is a big deal for your small community. So yeah, so even though we dump out numbers like 40 to 50, but so 40, 50 people crammed in here, and you're saying you missed the council meeting, but a individual there was spreading information from that meeting?
That evening. So she was there early that morning gathering information. There was a little sign that said, sit and speak meeting being held at 5 p.m. at this cafe. So. Okay,
so when did you arrive?
I got there like right before 5 p.m. Oh, for the meeting or the town council?
Well, just in general, Sunday. So
Sunday, I got there sometime in the morning.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
So you saw the sign for 5 minutes. So you said, I'll come back later.
Yeah.
Got it. So, did you send a text message to me at this point, or was that Monday?
I think it was. You'll get a message out by Sunday or something.
Yeah, because I remember I got one message from you in that group chat with me and the other guy was because I was like, hey, because at this point I talked to you, Mom. I was like, hey, Niko, whenever you get this, just heads up. Because I was trying to give you options. She was like, hey, listen, if you need to, if they allow us to go up there, we still had time off work because of an event we were going to go to, the shooting range competition, which is no longer going to be happening. You're not going to see it on the channel. But I had still time off work. I was like, hey, listen, if you need me to bring supplies up, I will, so long as I can actually get up there via the roads. And I remember all you said was, there is no infrastructure.
No infrastructure.
No infrastructure is all you text me. And I was like, Jesus, all right, got it. But and then I didn't hear from you for another 24, 36 hours. But I think that was Sunday. So you still been spreading messages on that one hilltop you got. You went up there, saw not much of a crowd, but you just see, hey, the meeting's happening this evening.
Yeah.
And then anything else before that meeting?
No, particularly. It was just more giving out stuff. I'm trying to remember the events. It was either that Saturday or Sunday, because I remember, because part of that meeting was it was just an older woman trying to keep people calm or whatever.
Did you recognize her as any authority in that community before this?
No.
Just some lady trying to step up?
Yes.
Okay.
She's not even a permanent resident.
Okay. Was she being a bit of a Karen about it, or did you actually respect what she was trying to do?
I was respecting what she was trying to say.
Good.
Other people were trying to respect her, what she was trying to say too.
And to be clear, part of why it probably succeeded was she was just trying to relay information. She was not trying to say, you do this, you do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
This was on Saturday, I'm sorry.
Okay.
So,
That's fine.
Yeah, and the reason I'm saying that is because I remember the guy coming up and saying, it wasn't just an instance of free food on Saturday. It was supposed to be like from here until we actually run off stuff.
Right.
So, and the reason I say that, I should have said it on
Saturday. At the cafe.
At the cafe, yeah.
Okay.
This was still at that Saturday because we finally brought up about the water. So she said some people have water, some people don't have water, don't know what's going on. That Saturday, if you had water after a certain point in time, it was a boiling only because there was so much damage to the pipes. Right. So the lake itself was fine. That's where we get our water from, was from that source.
And you said
the treatment center is fine, but it was the damage to the pipes from the transit center to the houses.
Yeah, so you have clean water going through contaminated pipes.
Yes.
And this news reached you Saturday?
Yes, it was.
Okay. And
that's what I'm saying. I'm sorry.
You good. And then shortly after receiving that news, when you get back home, the water's
been gone.
Got it.
The water's been gone.
Yeah. Now I do wonder if that was. So because it stayed out for multiple days, it wasn't because so many people were using it, it's because it seemed to be that the cracks in the pipes were causing too many
Yeah.
leaks. Okay.
Yeah. And the reason I want to make clear of this is because people were getting antsy to leave.
Right.
They weren't antsy on come save us. It was when can I drive out of here?
Right.
And the reason I'm saying this, it was so stressful on Saturday because that night at 8 p.m., the main road leading out was going to there was a corridor time from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. before the curfew started again. I can't really leave and I can't really drive out again. They repaired the road just enough because this road was actually by definition washed away, as in all of the asphalt was picked up and gone.
So you mentioned a curfew again. So they mentioned at the beginning. Is this the first time you've heard after a 2-day gap of like, hey, by the way, this curfew is still being reinforced. Please stay indoors during night hours.
Yes.
Did you hear any grumbling of people saying, no, I'm not going to do that or anything like that? Or was everyone pretty quiet?
Yeah, people were trying to kind of like either they lived in that area that the road was washed out, or I'm pretty sure that they were kind of just like sick of the curfew and trying to get out.
Yeah, but I mean, it wasn't like no one was saying like, no, I'm not doing that.
No.
Okay, but they were just trying to get out.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the contention. Okay, and then I'm sorry. So just to reiterate, who was telling them like, hey, listen, you can't leave, and here's why? Who was it? That lady?
It was that lady and one of the women on the sidelines. I think she was either on the council or also got more information about the roads.
Okay, so someone who you thought might actually have the authority to say that. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Well, I mean, that could have gone a lot worse, let's be honest.
Yeah.
So,
and the only reason because of this curfew is so that there was enough time to strictly repair the road.
Right. Yeah, so the emergency service would be working in the night.
Yes.
Got it. Okay, well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything?
So
So that was actually a lot more into Saturday. Anything more into Sunday?
Sunday, it was getting finicky. I was trying to get a call to figure out what were the roads like in other locations. There was a lot of hearsay on this road being open, that's the road is not open, da 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 da. So we knew we could get out of there by push and shove with vehicles, but I was just trying to figure out the right moment that the roads would be repaired enough to make that escape.
Right. And then Monday, was that your last day or Wednesday was your last day?
Wednesday was last day.
Okay, so anything more than Sunday before going into Monday? But how about this? The water's already out. Before you guys bedded down, did you already have to deal with the new bathroom problem?
Yes, because the curse, but blessing and curse, because there was still a lot of water rushing through on Sunday. We just grabbed old Lowe's Hardware 5-gallon buckets, and we just scooped.
Yeah.
Oh no, not in the bathtub. We got more water from streams.
Okay, so at this point, because I know you talked about doing this off camera. So at this point, so Sunday evening, you are immediately running into the water issue with the toilets, because you use it, but you still need to fill water up to actually make it flush.
Yep, and we didn't want to go into the toilet water,
So you immediately started walking outside with some paint buckets.
So we actually used the car again. We used the car a lot more than I wanted to because of gasoline, because there's no station in town.
So question for you, if your car had run out of gas, what would your options have been within the household? Did you have any spare gas cans at all?
Walk.
Okay. So that's a big learning one. Even just having one 5-gallon can for emergency, just something like that.
The main point is that my father doesn't like storing gasoline, but ultimately if we just hear the hurricane is coming in within 1 or 2 days, stopping at the gas station, filling it up, throwing it in the basement.
Exactly.
And guess what? Once it's all said and done, okay, just burn what's in the tank and then just empty it out.
Yeah, exactly. It's a little bit more about, I think, the military surplus jerry cans with the, we call them the donkey dicks, but
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, but those, even if you because if you seal them up and there's no fuel in it, the smell will be pretty limited after a couple of days, especially if you leave it outside for a couple of days if it's empty. And then, as you said, just a couple of days beforehand, fill them up. And if no storm happens and you're good, just use the gas in them. And they're very durable cans that you can get, I think there's big ones for more than 5 gallons. I think there might be more, but they get 2 or 3 of those, you can fill up the car real quick. So yeah, that's definitely a big learning lesson. I know it's one for us as well on the coast. We've been having, we do have a couple of the military ones. We have a lot of civilian normal gas cans, and not all of them are filled up, but we have them. And that's kind of the same contingency plan there. So, okay, so you are starting to get. So where was this body of water that you were getting this water from?
So from my house, it was
Down
further
the hill?
down. Yeah, there was another side street to more.
Were you following the road? Or did you actually go down the side of the hill?
So we followed the road
Okay.
to make it safe, because we knew that there was an actual like massive stream. But I didn't want to necessarily be in that stream because while it is like part of the public, because the protected stream, it's still kind of getting close to people's yards, and the last thing I want to happen is them asking questions. Why am I taking water from the stream? Like,
Was this nighttime at this point?
This was still daytime.
Daytime. Okay, just before dusk and whatnot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we found another like side ditch that had a lot of clear water rushing through it. So we're just like, all right, that's not going to damage the pipes. Let's take that and we'll be fine.
It's something I forgot to mention as well. Now that you're starting to interact with more people now. What was the Second Amendment firearm situation like? Well, I mean, did you have people walking around with nods and rifle and body armor? Did you guys have open carrying sidearms?
Nope. The major population were old people.
Right.
So
if they had anything, it was concealed carry. You didn't see anything.
no, nothing was overt.
Yeah.
There weren't any premises that had do not carry or do not da da da. There weren't anybody that was going to be sectioning off into groups of
No police.
militant men or something like that.
No police trying to do anything unconstitutional. No. Okay.
Yeah.
I think I can guess your situation on that. I'm going to make you ask that on camera. Okay, so going into Monday now. Which
Monday.
is the 31st, I believe, September 31st.
Yeah, we finally got an actual game plan of when to actually get out because the road was fully repaired by then.
And fully repaired is, when you say...
Well, as in fully repaired, I mean as in like you can drive on it and not break an axle.
and when you say the road, you mean not just out of your neighborhood, but a route out of...
Out
Okay.
of the area completely.
Okay, so how did you hear about this somewhere?
Town council.
So at this point, now you can get there every day. Did they say, like, hey, everyone, every time at like 10 a.m.?
There was a schedule. There was an active schedule from
Got it.
town council.
Good. That's good. So, I mean, what time did you get there?
About 11 or so. Each day now kind of starts at 11. So so the reason that is just that the shock of just being in a situation that is like, being able to wake up at a certain point in time, sure, but it's just now it's kind of just like, if I can't sleep, then I just lay in bed, force myself to sleep, and then wake up late or do whatever. But yeah, no.
And that was your schedule?
I mean, yeah, that wound up being my schedule.
Okay, then that's why. But you're saying you got there at 11, but they had their own rotation of like, hey, once you're at 10. Okay.
Yeah.
So you get there, they tell you, hey, the road is now open, but was there a catch or anything? Because you didn't leave yet. You left 2 days later.
The catch was nobody knew how far. Congratulations, you can get out of here.
Right.
But we're not promising you can get further down, like going to Charlotte.
And was there any like news of like, hey, we hear this road's available, we know this one's not, like, or was it just we know our route is now secure to get out, we know nothing else?
On Monday, it was we know our route, but no, nothing else.
What about internet signal? Were emergency services getting better linked? Were they using Starlink, sat phones? Like, did you see anything comms-wise?
Nothing Starlink.
Okay.
I only knew about people delivering Starlink until after I got out.
Got it. Hey, this is another topic. So your power went out Friday, is that what you said?
No, that Thursday, yeah.
That Thursday. How are you charging your phone during all this?
Cars.
Got it. Now you have 2 cars there at that
Yes.
location? How much were you sweating that with the fuel in your gas cans? At that point?
My father's car can continue to charge phones with the car being off. So
Really?
turn it on, let it run for a minute, turn it off, it'll still charge.
And it won't just destroy the battery?
No. So my father's vehicle, it has a bit more robust battery because this is a from factory dedicated off-roading vehicle.
That's a really cool learning point, actually, to have a vehicle with that capability.
Yeah, so it wasn't any kind of special modifications done to it for the computer or the battery. This was a vehicle from factory. It said that you're going into the desert, you're going mountain climbing, it's gonna be fine.
You know, it's funny, a lot of the new electric cars, including Cybertrucks and stuff, also have kind of a built-in generator in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
The problem is once its power source runs out, how are you going to charge it?
Yeah, it wasn't so much of a generator, but it was just a more robust alternator, I guess, or something like that.
That's cool.
Mine, it can only charge when the car is on, period.
Right.
So that one, I was kind of starting to start sweating.
Where were we? We were
So it was
Monday,
trying to get an idea for leaving the house. So
yeah. So what was the conversation like? It's like, what is the risk reward of leaving now? Because I'm assuming the way it worked was, we know we can leave, we just don't know what happens past that. But we have X amount of days worth of supplies still.
Yeah.
Therefore, let's stay put. Was that the conclusion?
it was the conclusion of let's use up as much of the actual perishables from the freezer and fridge. So we'll stay long enough for that. It was also the whole point of the idea is that when we load up to leave this house, we're not turning back.
Right. It's all
we're going to gun it until we get to the next major city.
Yeah. So I didn't know your fuel situation was that desperate in a lot of ways, because now I would look at that and be very worried, because even if you're charging your batteries without turning the car on, it's like you got a 200-mile range of fuel for both of those cars if you go for it.
Yeah, at that point about 200.
Yeah.
Max capacity 450.
Yeah, and of course I say 200 miles because of what your meter on your cars would say, not because you're going 200 miles. It's you would be sitting idle and God knows what else, trying to get out of those mountains.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and I would say that was the wise decision to stay put at that point, which is sucky, but it would have been the smart one.
Yeah.
And then continuing, just going, how often do you think you had to go to that water source to keep flushing toilets?
It wasn't for too long. We only went to that water source once.
Okay.
Because by Monday, we had our dirty water back.
Oh, really? Oh, I thought you were doing that for much longer. Okay, so
Yeah.
now you're turning the faucet back on. Did you turn on the bathtub and the dirty water just contaminate the rest of it?
Oh, I mean, we never even used the bathtub water except for
really?
like washing my hands itself.
Oh, okay.
Trying to do that. Yeah, no.
Okay.
We didn't drink from those kind of sources.
Got it. Okay, so
But no, you would be correct. Yeah, the water was like actual like golden dirty water
yeah, so I mean
for the
definitely.
entire time.
Yeah, definitely don't be drinking out of that. Like even if you boil it and you purification tablets, it's still iffy. But so for drinking water in that case, do you still have enough of the bottles you filled up and bottled water?
There was that, and we ultimately went to the town hall.
Oh yeah.
It was that Tuesday. I'm jumping ahead myself, I know.
Okay, so
But Tuesday we grabbed more water.
So before you grab more water, what in terms of drinkable water, in terms of gallons, did you have in the house at that point?
You're gonna hate me.
Okay.
3 like actual gallons of water, and then my 1.5 liter canteen, another liter canteen I found. I had 3 of those. No, it was 2 of those refillable canteens that I can just get from Walmart or whatever. I had 2 of those filled up, and I had cold walls of water.
Okay, so
And then that was from that
So-
filled. Then I've got another like 36 pack in the basement, and then 6 of those like pint and a halfers.
okay, so under 10 gallons, but definitely over 5 by the sounds of it.
Or over 5 by a long shot.
Yeah.
But I think it was kind of closer to like about 7 gallons.
And the funny thing is, the reason you have those canteens is because you shoot firearms and you have tactical gear, so you have those bottles. But yeah, I mean, you've been to my place, and all those canteens I have, they're filled up.
Yeah.
And it's there's a reason for that. But yeah, that's actually, I mean, given the situation you started out in, that's actually not too bad. You said I'll hate you for it now, because The general rule of survival I've heard is 3 gallons a day per person, but that's including hygiene, cleaning, cooking, and whatnot.
But we skipped the hygiene, and I used only.
Well, it's because you had the bathtub. So I mean, you guys, it sounded like you could have survived at least 2 or 3 more days easy with just the water. But at the same time, in a situation like that, unless you have hundreds of gallons of water, you should be grabbing every handout you can get.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything more for Monday?
It was either that. I'm trying to remember because there was more cellular service. I think it was more Monday because I wasn't able to do that call out. But I'm not sure if I want to add this in there, but I will say some kind of just like, hey, what you doing over there? But by Monday, I had more of the questions. It was like, hey, what you doing there? I didn't actually like go up to people and ask them what they were like doing. There was some sketchy stuff going on Monday.
Oh, really?
Yeah. By Monday, things were getting a little bit interesting.
Okay, please talk about that. So you were saying up to this point, the community was doing pretty good.
Yeah, the community was doing pretty good. There was one restaurant that I noticed that was not giving out free food.
Okay.
And from the back of this location, people were, walking out with stuff. They were on their cell phones, so I imagined that maybe I would like to lean on the idea that since there was also a location that they worked and lived in, that they probably had permission from the owner to acquire certain things.
Yeah, so I know you're trying to avoid naming names, right? But did you know any of these people? Okay. Now, you said this was Monday?
Yeah.
Was it like afternoon or something?
Yeah, broad daylight.
Yeah, so you're doing your rounds, visiting all the locations again. You grab some handouts where you can from certain places, and you walk up to, was it some restaurant or something?
Yeah, we found a good parking space in the back of a restaurant, yeah.
Okay, so...
Yeah, we wanted to find a different location that was a little bit more secluded side.
Got it. And the reason for that is because, again, it's a tiny community on this hilltop, all these stores and buildings and stuff. A lot of the parking is packed in this very small, consolidated area, despite, it only being a couple hundred people, right? Okay, so you see that and you walk over and you see, how many people you say it was? Like 6?
Oh, yeah, about 5 or so.
So 5 of them. Were they all in the same, were they in like the restaurant uniform or just whatever wearing?
They were, at that point, they were all wearing, but they were all, civilized with each other.
Yeah, but you knew they worked there?
Yeah.
Okay, so it looked like the restaurant employees were pulling supplies out not to be cooked at that location.
Because you can't really cook with that gasoline from the shed.
Right, but other restaurants were doing what they could and giving food out.
Yeah.
Did you ever see them give food out at that location?
No.
No?
No.
No, okay. So it sounded like the restaurant owner and their employees decided to, well, did you know who the owners were of the restaurant?
Not the owners themselves, I guess knew the employees there, yeah.
Got it. And then were they putting them in different vehicles or a singular vehicle?
There were 3 vehicles pulled up there.
Interesting. Yeah, I can see how you can come to the conclusion that you did. Right.
But I didn't want to say anything because at that point in time I was on the cell phone with my mom. Yeah. And you know what? Let's just keep a distance. I recognize them clearly.
Yeah. Yeah. And also it's like they work there as well. That's kind of the thing. But you were wise to keep away in that moment.
Yeah.
No, that is interesting though, because I think that's more of a practical selffulness than necessarily like looting per se.
Yeah.
Because for all you know, it could have been the restaurant owner and some employees saying, "Hey, listen, we can't cook this here. Take it back to your houses and let's get out of it." You know what I mean? That is interesting though. But in terms of crime and stuff, was that the worst you saw?
Yeah, that was the only thing that was outstretched because by then a lot of people left at that window. So that, remember when I said that right before that curfew, the amount of people that were on the streets just died off. So
really?
Yeah, no, people were leaving.
Got it.
As quickly as they could.
Got it. So you think that might have been one last little hurrah, it's like, hey, grab our supplies, we're getting out of here?
Basically.
That actually can make a lot of sense, the restaurant owner being like, hey, listen, employees for small knit community, grab this crap. We can let the other stuff get lost behind it. because
Yeah.
we're not there to secure it, or let's go. You know what I mean? For all you know, I mean, like, did you see what they're taking out? Like, it could have not just been food; it could have been cash registers still.
The only thing that I saw that they were getting after the shed were the gas or jerry cans.
See, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, yeah. So Monday,
That and also like the back door to the restaurant was like wide open.
Yeah.
So it was like wide open there, and then they finally got into the shed. Yeah.
got it. Yeah, they're probably airing it out, and
Yeah.
they're probably airing it out. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have that in the back of your mind. You are getting more cell phone service at that location.
Mm-hmm.
More people are leaving the community. You guys bed down for Monday, going into Tuesday.
Yeah. Tuesday was the packing day, trying to get
Got
the
it.
last of the stuff out.
So when did you decide to say yes, we leave? When you saw everyone else leaving Monday evening?
Yeah, by Tuesday we got a bit more cell service and we kind of got their idea. And by Tuesday, that's when they said completely yes, both main highways leaving here were open.
Got it. So that's when you say, okay, we're going to leave, but we need time to prep. So let's spend all day Tuesday packing as much stuff as you can.
Yeah.
And as much stuff you said, I'm not going to go into too many details, but the idea was you did not want to leave anything of particular value behind as well, because you don't know when you're going to come back.
Yeah, the original idea was like, an extension, yeah.
Yeah. So you guys figure out, I'm assuming, as much food and water, split it evenly in your cars, because, you guys are going to go to different locations after a certain point, right?
Oh no, we didn't bring any food or water with us.
Really?
We did not. It was just clothing and work stuff and other personal items and just book it to
Wow.
the second location.
I would have at least had a box full of water or food for each of you.
No.
Wow.
No.
Holy shit. Okay.
This was just like flying off the handlebars.
I would
Stupid luck.
I would say big comment there is I think your thought process of when to stay versus when to leave I think was very sound. But I would definitely say you should have brought some extra supplies within each of your cars, especially since you guys had a weird fuel situation with your cars. Like it sounded like both of them were at 3/4 of a tank at this point, but still, you don't know what's past your community or your county. So, yeah, that was pretty sketchy actually, but it sounds like it worked out for you guys.
Oh,
Okay, so you guys, what other prep did you guys do Tuesday? Did you pull out some maps or anything? Like, did you even have those or? Okay, so in terms of you guys prep for trying to move out, do you guys have any maps or anything?
We had no maps with us to go down.
So that's another learning point. I know for me personally, my car has a couple of state maps and a couple of local community maps. Now, I do not have anything written on those maps, including pre-planned routes. That would be a good learning point for someone like me and you. But also, I have a couple maps in the house. Okay. So, yeah, I think it's really important people have physical maps. Especially since, in terms of like digital copying them, they're technically free. You can get like really detailed like custom maps, topographic maps of your areas for free. But printing them out is still really important. But you guys had none, so what was the plan? Did you guys just know the area enough to say?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we knew the area enough. So we knew that route number 3, the route that is technically the fastest, but the route that we don't use that often was completely closed down still.
So
that day.
So in this situation, the bigger and most common the route was actually the better. Is that correct?
No.
Okay.
The route that was the most treacherous was the only one that was open.
Okay. Now, how did you find this out? To actually go into these routes and realize.
So it was actually we only found out that Wednesday. Our D-Day getting out.
Now, did you find that out by word of mouth, or did you drive to these locations? There's a guy for signs saying, "Hey, by the way."
We drove down, and then there was a line of us that was making a big U-turn, and then the leader of this U-turn said, "That route is now closed."
Okay, so we'll get to that tomorrow then. But for Tuesday, so you guys, but at least you guys are thinking about it. It's like in your head.
Tuesday we had on Tuesday we were thinking, okay, both routes are open, we're fine. We'll go to the one that we've been used most common. It should be good.
Yeah. But broadly speaking, for route planning, you said we have a primary, contingency, and emergency from like a pace plan perspective.
Yeah.
Like you had 3 options,
Yeah.
and you had a contingency. This is our primary, this is our secondary, this is the third.
Yeah.
And if we see we can't traverse it, this is the route we want to take back to go back to this other one, etc. You guys were in different cars, but you're going to stay together until then. Which I misspoke earlier. Your guys' end destination was also the same.
Yes.
So you guys were staying together the whole time and convoying together, which is smart. You don't want to separate like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other planning or prep that came to mind that Tuesday? How would you guys communicate with you? Just keep the cars within eyesight, flip the lights, or anything? Like, did you guys even talk about that, or?
What do you mean by?
Like, let's say one of you needs to contact the other while you're on the road.
No, actually, there wouldn't be really. With me being my father, I guess the only way I'll be able to contact him would be to flick my lights, but there wasn't a real good way for him to contact me.
Yeah. Well, that would have been a good one. And also, do you have Bayer Fang radios?
I do.
You do?
I got 2 of them.
Were they charged?
I would like to think so, yeah.
Huh.
So handing him one just to the frequency.
I'm curious if they would have worked in that type of area. You know what I mean? That might have been something worth checking out, a good lesson learned there, because you had the radios, but you didn't use them. Mm-hmm. And then 2, just having to know if like, hey, I want to put my arm out or just have the lights and stuff. Because even from a non-tactical perspective, it's good just for like convoy operations to have something like that. So, okay, there's a lesson learned there. Again, the food and water we talked about, you should have brought some of that. But you guys did pack a lot of your other stuff that you wanted to not leave in the house, which is smart. Did you do anything to the house before you left to just kind of be like, hey, we'll be gone for a while, we don't know what the crime situation is? Like, was there anything like that, or was it more like, hey, there's not much we can do here?
Not much we can do. Yeah, we pretty much figured that it was just a safe area to begin with, especially when there's not a whole lot of traffic going up and down. It should be fine.
Mm-hmm. Knowing your house, if crime was bad, I would have wondered if you could have blockaded some of your entrances and gone out through the basement. So if someone would have come by, looked at the window, they would have seen just a pile of furniture at each of these windows. That might have been something to look into. So no lesson there. But again, you guys didn't have that much of a crime, thankfully. Okay, so going into Wednesday. So before we go into Wednesday, you saw that civilian helicopter, was it Friday or Saturday?
Friday, Saturday, and it would actually been building up. It was the civilian helicopter was making most runs. I only saw National Guard on Tuesday.
Okay, so talk about that. So Tuesday,
we can actually probably post a photo of that class of helicopter up, but it was a smaller twin-seater, but it was long enough for there to be a cargo space.
Oh, was it a Chinook? Did it have 2?
It's not a Chinook. God, no. It was not a Chinook. It's a single prop. The tail has an enclosed fan.
Huh, and you got a picture of it?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll
I think I got either the picture of it or someone else of it.
Yeah, just send me something, I can put an image of, because I don't know
If
enough
I know exactly what it looks like.
I don't know enough about air assets, but that's not the first thing that came to mind. Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
It was not a Little Bird. It was not a Blackhawk. It was going to be one of our smaller scouts.
But you said there was space for cargo. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
They landed, and they were just talking to the cops. They were trying to get a read of what the situation was like.
Okay, so Tuesday you guys were planning, but you still made your daily route to the community center. So it was at afternoon time frame?
Yeah.
You walked out, you already see the helicopter that's landed already? Like with the blade still spinning? Or?
Yeah, was it Monday or Tuesday? Tuesday was interesting.
Well, let's keep talking about this.
Yeah. So it was either Monday or Tuesday for sure.
Got it.
It was one individual National Guard guy, and just basic plate, no firearms or anything like that.
Yeah. I mean, most of these pilots have their flight gear on, but it is interesting that he had his body armor on during that time. Because some missions, the commander's discretion will say you don't need the body armor.
I know that wasn't like the battle shirt. I think it was like a slick plate, probably with no armor.
Well, yes. So if they're like the pilots with the Unawa station, they have a unique slick plate carrier, and they have a unique. I would call it like a flick with the way it just is like a cross draw.
Yeah.
But it's unique because it has like the aviation strappings and stuff, and the pouches are designed for Pacific aviation related equipment.
Yeah.
It's not really for a tactical load.
Yeah.
So okay, yeah. So you just saw one of them just talk with some law enforcement
The
officer.
cops was taking pictures with one of the restaurants that was still giving out free food. He had a pen and notepad, so it was just there to figure it out.
Dumb question. The reason you knew it was National Guard was National Guard written on the side of it.
No, it was just there wasn't a National Guard. It was just a green helicopter.
Oh, so clearly military personnel came out of a green helicopter. So you actually don't know if it's National Guard.
No,
it was just
I didn't.
military.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I didn't ask MLS or anything like that.
Got it. Okay. Did you ever interact with him or anything?
No, I wanted to, but at the same time, probably shouldn't.
Did you see any supplies get offloaded?
No.
But you said there was cargo space.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
long enough to be cargo space.
Did you see people getting loaded in or anything being loaded in or vice
The
versa?
door was still closed.
Got it. So do you think he just arrived and you just saw him turn the blades off?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but he was there. He was there for sure.
Yeah, no, I clearly saw him come in and land, yeah.
Okay. And this is a helicopter?
This is a helicopter. Yeah.
Got it. I was about to say, you guys don't have the space for a runway. Right?
Yeah.
So, okay, cool. Okay. That's interesting. So you finally saw National Guard Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
I think it was more Monday, because Tuesday was when I was like, we really should be.
Yeah, so give it the benefit of doubt. 5 days after
Yeah.
the storms passing through, give or take, you finally saw military support.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay, and you said there was something else Tuesday you found?
Okay, so Tuesday was when we got to the town hall and saw that there was like more active supplies getting put out. And I ran into one of the neighbors. I was actually
sorry to pause you. So supplies being given out. What do these supplies look like?
your daily household. So that means actual, non-perishables, your water, toiletries, non-perishable toiletries, even batteries and dog food.
Yeah, so a bunch of random stuff that makes sense, but would they because you know how in the military, or aviation, if you were packing certain equipment out of aviation aircraft, you need to have it strapped down certain ways. You need to have certain cargo netting strapped to it, block and brace and whatnot. Did it look like it was palletized like that, or was it more of just some supplies laying out?
Just some supplies, yeah.
So
I didn't get a chance to really look behind the desk.
Yeah, so I mean, maybe they took it off the pallets, but it sounds like a lot of it was coming from the ground still, not from the air. Or maybe that small helicopter, just dumping stuff out, which is believable from the footage I've been seeing. Okay, interesting. And what were you saying happened Tuesday?
So Tuesday, I was kind of all right, for the last 5 days or so, all I've been doing is just helping my dad, going back to the house, and just waiting for the day to be over.
Right.
Tuesday, we had now enough water and good bit amount of food to last us till when we want to leave. So I want to volunteer.
Right.
Finally, just do fucking something.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you have already made a decision. We are leaving tomorrow. Therefore, is there anything I can do before I leave?
Yes.
Okay.
Now I have the calories and water to replenish myself.
You have taken care of yourself.
Yeah.
Now you're reaching out.
Yeah. Because the last thing I want to do is, exceed myself and helping somebody else.
Exactly.
And now I've sweated so much that I've gone through 3 bottles of water instead of my daily ration of water.
Yeah, you cannot be an asset if you let yourself become a victim.
Yeah. So that was just my absolute panic worry.
Yep.
Especially with my father, he's not as physically capable as he was beforehand. If his back spasm is bad when he walks, I have to be there to make sure that he can walk to the next location.
So when you step out to go help out, does your dad go out there with you?
No, he stayed home.
Is this the first time you guys really separate during this?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's interesting because something you've been talking about so far is you and your dad are constantly doing stuff together during this time, which is smart. The basic buddy system in this situation is 100%, and thankfully you had someone, But now you're separated, so how did that go? So when you step out of the house, what was on you? What was your plan? What happened?
I had my concealed carry, it was fine.
Yeah. Did you have gloves, working equipment, anything?
So my task was to help the town hall download the next 18-wheeler that was coming up.
Okay. And I'm assuming the last time you were there, you got word, hey, we need volunteers for this? Okay, got it. Okay, sweet. So did you just drive over there and just help out?
This truck never arrived.
Got it. Okay, so you heard about it the day before that's coming.
No, I heard it that day.
Oh, okay.
When I was there, one of the neighbors said, "We need you back here to help."
Okay.
So I said, "Cool."
So when you arrived, how many people were there?
4.
Okay.
One was about a little bit younger than me, but the others were kind of like, in the mature age, yeah.
Okay, and then 4 volunteers to help out. How many government workers or people
it was
there?
a big, yeah, so the town employees were there. There was only one dedicated volunteer that was left. So what I was told by the kid was that he's the last volunteer because all the others were turned away now that the town's employees were able to reach that location and do their job and help.
Got it. Okay, so you had 4 or 5 volunteers, then you had how many staff do you think were just walking around doing various stuff that you got?
About 7 to 10.
And this includes
That was like in that closed location.
right. And does this include like law enforcement, EMS? fire department?
Not law enforcement or EMS. I'm just focusing on town's employee,
Got it.
as in like
Okay.
how many people are in the town hall,
non-uniform
and then the
personnel.
side.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay, so you guys get there. What time did you get there?
that was about 2. I got there at 2 p.m. because I told them that I can give you 2 hours.
Got it. And so you wait for 2 hours.
Oh no, I got there at like a little bit after 2, and then I was asking around like, where's this truck? And then they went into hush hush because they didn't know about this truck, the other people. So there were rumors about a truck coming, but there wasn't a truck coming because it was diverted to the next town.
The town being the bigger town
The
nearby.
little bit bigger town, yeah.
Yeah. Again, we're not saying who it is, but it's been in the news a lot.
Yeah.
So, so that's interesting. So, you said the rumor mill, but that sounds like a hard fact that it went to the other
Yeah,
town.
it went.
So how was this news being distributed?
By word of mouth through the little 5, 7 to 10 people.
So, have you ever got confirmation that this was actually even true to begin with?
Not really.
Okay, so that's interesting.
At this point in time,
Did they ever explain how the rumor, air quote, rumor of the truck coming to begin with even started?
through one of the other employees over there, one of the old ladies over there. That's the only way that I could bring it out.
Yeah, it sounds like you're missing part of
I'm
this.
missing a lot.
Yeah, for sure. But it is interesting because it makes me wonder if the truck even exists to begin with. Which, if they're going to have a rumor like that, I suspect there's a kernel of truth to it.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
This was also the first time that I heard about the on the ports, all of the strikes, the port strikes.
Right. So
So I'm told. So so this is me not having any word of mouth coming up here. Not enough time to ask my mother what's going on. We only had enough time to tell her about what's going on. So all of a sudden, I'm hearing these port strikes, and I have enough Wi-Fi connection to actually look it up, and I see 7 news outlets front page saying port strike, port strike, port strike, port strike. I'm just thinking, what the fuck is happening?
Right, and for your information, so what happened is the longshoremen on the East Coast states of I forgot how many states, but most of the East Coast port states, they had a workers' strike with their union over
wages
and
AI.
Well, yeah, a couple different demands, and I'm not gonna get too much into it outside of. Let's just say a lot of people who would oftentimes support these type of strikes were not in support of them, and within a couple of days they quickly struck a deal. And I think part of that was because they knew they needed to make a deal soon. That's just my opinion as someone looking at it from the outside. I think also optics is bad because not just was the demands a bit much in the eyes of some, but it happened at a very ill-opportune time. They scheduled this well ahead in advance.
Yeah.
The news wasn't talking about it much, but they scheduled it well before the hurricane. But having that double whammy was enough for a lot of people not to really support them. And it quickly died down. But October 1st, it happened that Tuesday. And that's funny that you get that. Because I know at my job that Monday's usually pretty slow at the job I work at. And we just got bamboozled because not just were other people panicking because of the strike, because of the hurricane, but they were also grabbing supplies to give to Western North Carolina. So pretty much all across town within 24 hours, most water and toilet paper was gone, just like the COVID era. By the end of that week, it changed, because the strike died down. People, most toilet paper, by the way, is made in the United States, unlike other items, so people didn't really need to freak out about that. But yeah, no, that's terrifying news to hear from your perspective, because you don't know what's happening, and you're like,
I didn't know how long this was.
Right.
All I know is that this is correct happening.
Yeah. Okay, so you hear the rumors being spread at the little community center with NG volunteers. So what happens now? So the truck's not arriving.
The truck's not arriving. So I was just like, all right, we gotta get the fuck out. I didn't know like how bad everything else was.
When you looked at the supplies that were being distributed, like, did you think like, yeah, for this community, this is better than nothing, or were you like, holy smokes, is this it? Like, what was the scale of desperation you saw in just the supply availability?
Honestly, I figured that the supply was gonna be still okay enough because now the population died out a lot faster.
Yeah, they moved out, and you saw the military helicopter.
Yeah,
right.
So kind of now we got some kind of official bureaucracy getting eyes on.
Yeah.
And so
but
it was back. Actually, another case in point. So the same individual that was telling me about coming back and over. She was pushing on my father and I to take more MREs.
Yes.
So that way certain individuals did not receive these MREs because they would forget, they were so old, they would forget the instructions. So there was a certain point I actually was worried that people would actually be harmed from using MREs.
I'm sorry, what day was this?
This was still Tuesday.
So Tuesday, you have one of the local government employees or volunteers saying to you and your father, please take these MRE rations, because why?
So she gave a specific individual, I don't remember his name to begin with, but this individual has a health condition, dementia. So there is a possibility that him or others who would receive these supplies, they might get harmed.
Because they're outdated, or
because of the heating element. The instructions with these MREs were supposed to be done to I understand you can eat MREs cold, but a case in point, those individuals have never had an MRE before.
Okay, you know what? That's kind of, that makes sense, because it's a small community, so they're like, hey, Bob over there has dementia. We don't want him to mess with the freaking.
So have more MREs that has snacks.
Yeah.
Leave him the pudding.
Yeah, give him the pudding and the ramen. We'll give you guys some. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not as dire as I thought.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
So that was interesting, and I knew that one of my flashlights, another case in point of something I'm gonna do. One of my flashlights died on me in the middle of the night when I was trying to go down the stairs to get a candle, and so I was in an oh shit mode. So I had to eventually the next morning I was able to change out the batteries, ran out of batteries.
Yeah.
This is important because when I just asked for batteries, so in not conjunction, but as payment for coming over here to actually telling you, I am a man in my 20s, I can lift heavy things. You have Bertha over here that's 89, she can barely hold herself. Let me lift heavy things.
Yeah.
And I was turned away.
At the volunteer center?
Yes.
So you just saw someone else collecting supplies.
An old woman who's trying to sort dog food.
Okay, and you said, ma'am, can I please help you?
Yes.
And she said, no, I'm good?
Her and the guy that was running it turned me away.
So if she says, I'm good, even if me disagree with that, if it's her own independence thing, that makes sense. It's weird that the other guy says that. I guess it's more because they don't want random people pawing over the supplies.
Yeah.
I get that, but maybe you should have the old lady direct and have the man pick up the dog food. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, yeah. But what you're telling me is there was some level of like, hey, listen, like, we got to have control of this stuff.
Yeah.
We can't have people pawing over it. We got to be careful of this distribution. That's why they controlled the volunteers and stuff, which to a certain extent, I actually completely agree with that.
But in payment for turning me away, when I asked for AA batteries, I expected a 16-pack, but instead they gave me a 48-pack. So without question. So I kind of figured that means they're doing okay on supplies. Then.
Yeah, okay, no, that's a good antidote. So it's like harsh but fair. They're just trying to do their job, but nothing personal. Hey, you need some batteries, here you go. And also, battery lesson learned. I know, I mean, you saw my stack of batteries, and even then that's a small stack, all things considered. But people also don't realize that if you want to store up on some good quality lithium batteries, those get expensive. I had to go to a Battery Plus recently to get I think the biggest pack of AAA lithiums I could get was a 40 or 50 pack. That was max. Like, I started going into, like, there was a time where I would go into local Lowe's and get like a 20 pack of like AA, AAA lithiums. And of course they're expensive. Like, you're looking at 30 to 50 bucks for something like that. But you can get them. Now they're just like Walmart, because Walmart was always like this in my area, which was you could get like a 4-pack. And I would be like, all right, I'm going to snag all 8 boxes of your 4-packs real quick when I'm storing up these batteries. But the lithium market I've noticed in my area has changed a bit. And this was even before all this stuff happening. So that was a real bummer. But yeah, storing up batteries, specifically lithium ones, not just because they're better quality, but really because they don't corrode as like alkaline batteries do. I would also say having a working flashlight in your bedroom or wherever you sleep is good in general. Like, I do that, and also I have a weapon light on guns that are within hands reach. So that's a redundancy too, outside of the flashlight on most people's phones now, and that's just getting around town. Like, I mean, I did my fanny pack, my concealed carry video years ago, and still on the channel. And I'm wearing my fanny pack now, and I have a headlamp in it. You know, I don't have as many spare batteries anymore in it, but I still have a working headlamp. So especially like a light source, when the power is out, people really take that for granted. And I mean, that's definitely a big lesson learned. But okay, so you got your batteries, you were able to get that much. You're saying, hey, let me get the heck out of Dodge. You did your planning. Any concluding thoughts before we go into Wednesday?
The only concluding thoughts would probably just be, making sure that everything was done right, I guess.
Right, just final prep.
Yeah.
Okay. And then before we move on, so you mentioned the fire department briefly in the very beginning. I know you mentioned a lot of law enforcement. You mentioned the one military. Did you see some people volunteering to help out in like kind of the local government? Did you see anything with EMT, hospital services, fire department, fire engines, anything?
Not fire engines. I believe a couple of EMTs, especially in the middle of the night, when people are finally like being able to put out distress calls.
I bet the engines were fine. They just didn't want to drive those heavy things on the roads unless they knew there was a fire, which makes sense.
Yeah. I guess for the final thoughts is kind of just like, as in...
sorry to keep interrupting you. One more thing. So, do you guys have any medical facility in your community, like any hospital or anything?
Down the mountain.
So, not part of your guys?
Yeah.
So, it was isolated from you?
Yes.
So, was there any talk of a first aid station, doctor's area, casualty collection point, like a morgue, like anything like that? Was there any talk of that?
No.
Interesting.
And the little bit that was out in the public, I was never...
Okay. Well, with the way your community was talking and organized, I would assume if it was big enough of a problem, they would have tried to mention something. So perhaps no news is actually good news in this situation. But if you didn't have the community working the way they do, and they didn't mention that, that would have been pretty bad. Because there are communities that we've seen where it's like, hey, there's a lot of rotting bodies in rivers right now, and they still haven't collected them. I mean, I think we're into hundreds, if not maybe, I'm not sure if we're in 4 digits yet, of still missing personnel in Western North Carolina. And we're 2 weeks out. So yeah, very terrifying. But okay, so you said you're about to say something else?
I was about to say, just trying to dive into like, what do you mean by like last second thoughts? Because well, one of the other things is funny is that, of course, we closed the barn shed door after the horse runs off. And it was that night that my father and I were starting to like get a list of things to make sure that this never happens again.
Right. So we'll get to that later. Then.
I know.
Some additional lesson learned. Yeah, but that's good. Keep that in mind. Okay, now going into Wednesday, D-Day, getting out of here. What are we doing? So what time do you guys get out of there?
We got out of there at about like 9, about 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, before you even left town, did you find others convoying out of there?
I did have somebody on my ass trying to get out of there, but I don't know about another like convoy immediately.
Okay. Did you like talk to them or wave them like, hey, you come with us, or?
No, we did not stop for anybody.
Got it. And then before you left town, did you like go to community center and say, hey, me and so at this address are getting out of here? Like,
Nope, we just punched through.
Got it. Okay. So you start moving. There's a third guy in a car, kind of doing his thing, kind of following you guys too. Talk us through it.
So the vast majority of that drive out of there through the twists and turns was fine. We got to that road that was washed out. It was just hard packed with gravel.
Right.
It was like gravel and dirt, and if you didn't take that, slow enough, you would probably bounced off the road probably because it was like right before the turn.
Right.
So it was still a lot of care.
One car at a time in that situation?
Yeah, just about.
Were there other cars there?
Yeah, there was oncoming a little bit.
Was there anyone directing traffic?
Nope.
Okay, got it.
Nope. It was a switch yourself moment on the way down. Oh, another last point. It was actually on Tuesday. I'm reverting
No,
back.
please keep going.
Linemen and the internet service provider are able to get trucks up.
Okay.
So they were slamming through power lines and getting phone connections up.
So as you were
Tuesday.
leaving, you actually did see government personnel?
Yeah.
Or at least state level?
Yeah, state level. On Tuesday we saw more linemen and internet. Then that Wednesday it was actually a convoy of linemen coming up the opposite way.
How many did you see?
Total of 5, two separate convoys, convoy 2 and convoy 3.
Nice.
And then behind the linemen were pickups, Jeeps, and one Bronco of supplies.
Okay, so when you originally told me this off camera, you only told me that second part. And that was the moment that made me say, I want to get this on camera.
Yeah.
Because I didn't, so things have actually got a little more complicated with you fully explaining everything, because you have had some interaction with other communities, other community leaders. You have seen some interaction with, at least in one case, with the military, local law enforcement, EMS, and now the linemen. But directly behind the linemen was not FEMA, it was not the federal government, it was not additional state assets with supplies. It was your everyday volunteers of nearby communities in pickup trucks and Jeeps loaded to the brim with supplies. And you could see that because you saw at the back of the pickup truck like a bunch of water and stuff?
Yeah.
Right. And that could have been other linemen supplying those linemen, but also, very clearly they were trying to get up to your location. Yeah, and I think one of the bigger takeaways in terms of philosophy on preparedness in this tragedy is, in some cases you do have local governments trying their best, and I think your community is actually a really good example of that. Unfortunately, what we've been seeing in the news a lot is the exact opposite in a lot of communities. Even ones where, like Chimney Rock, where everything's gone. Outside of those communities, where there is still stuff left, you're seeing a lot of local, state, and federal organizations just completely failing. And the way you are succeeding is your everyday neighbor, your everyday American, and any community service organization coming out of the woodworks to help out their fellow Americans. And it is simultaneously inspiring and terrifying to know that it's your neighbor over there or in the next town over that's taking care of you better than the government you pay taxes to each year. And I think a lot of people have been seeing that lesson in this one, recent hurricane. And I think in terms of lesson learned, you're going to be seeing a lot more people in this area storing up a lot more supplies now, amongst other things.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for sharing that part. So let's continue. So you saw the linemen before the first road?
Before the first roadblock.
So you keep going, and when do you run to the first issue?
So the first issue was at T intersection. We hung to one direction and this town now is, kind of like, I'll call it the hub because of T intersection, ghost town, except for the gas station.
Was it gas? Did it have big signs that says no gas?
No, people were still in line because the other gas station, there are 2 gas stations in this town, the other one was dry.
Was this gas station closer to the other town we've been talking about in this video? Was it closer to the other place that you and I often associate with?
So these two gas stations were like in this downtown.
Downtown
Yeah.
of this location.
Of this, yeah.
Got it. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
A location that was heavily underwater just a couple of days by the time you got there.
Oh god, it was still heavily underwater, and then it was still drained out. Yeah.
Main Street in that area was complete. So you had to go that way.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was the only other way.
Wow. Yeah. So that sucks because that one's also been in the news a lot because that one got flooded real bad too.
Yeah.
You had people getting evac out of there too.
So
Now, sorry to keep interrupting. So from your location to your destination. Now your destination was actually, I would say, another 50 to 100 miles, 50 plus miles out of the foothills and the mountains. But so let's subtract 50 miles off your trip, right? How many miles would you have had to take, even if all the roads are open, it was perfectly smooth sailing?
So from point A straight shot down to point B, yeah, it'll be about 100, easily like 100 miles.
Okay, so
Yeah,
so if things went smoothly,
it's hours to get to this main location.
Yeah, so in that case, even at 3/4 a tank, you and your father would have definitely had made it normally, but you have all these roadblocks, right?
Yeah.
So when you saw that gas station line, did you say, hey, should we stop and get gas too? Or would you say, no,
We booked it.
just keep going?
Yeah.
Got it.
Fight through it.
Got it. And when you say fight through, like, I know most of the speed limits around there is between 55 or below. What was the speed you guys were going at on most of these roads?
Just a safe speed.
Got it.
Because even while we were while driving, it's not the debris anymore, it's linemen on both sides of the road.
Got it. Who's the point man vehicle?
My father.
Okay, so you were just trying to say, like, hey, if he's going a certain speed, I want to be
Yeah.
within a couple hundred feet of
Yeah.
him. Got it. Okay. Anything, so the first roadblock was at that town.
Yeah, the
Downtown.
main way to get out of town.
So you get downtown, you walk into that shit show, and you say, hey, we can't go any further. What happens at that point?
So we did a massive U-turn.
Yeah, with the other people you saw?
Yeah, with other people. So in order to make this, to get to there front and back, half of the road was gone too. So this was a self-directed one-lane road, basically. Oh yeah, so and all of these, the only people directing traffic were those at the roadblock. So if you're down to a one-lane road, you self-directed, which is going to be a problem in like the next 5 minutes. So
Right, so in this situation, could you see where that one lane ended on the other side to kind of self-traffic yourself? No?
No, so yeah, so it's like it kind of just like dropped, and so I'm just like, okay, I'm seeing people turn around, I gotta give them space where I can get into there.
Oh, sorry, maybe I'm misinterpreting it. I'm just confused on the traffic, so that's fine, continue telling the story.
So in short, we got back into our U-turn, we pulled off into the side building with a massive parking lot, and we just said, all right, we've got only one more route before we have to say we gotta go back home.
Yeah.
And we both agreed if that road is open, even partially, we have to punch through because we don't have enough gas to do this whole bullshit all over again tomorrow.
Yeah.
So we got back in the cars, we had to go, and the only other way out was another road that was washed out completely. By washed out, I mean half of one road was gone. The other half was riverbed rocks.
Yeah.
So this was another one lane road. I actually pulled back because I thought, well, shit, this is another roadblock. But my father, was waving me forward to catch up back to him. And because of my delay, I was actually pissing off everybody on the opposite lane.
Right.
So I didn't realize what was going on until I actually got to there. So I'm driving on this riverbed, haven't done that before. If your vehicle was like, Honda Civic, town car, you have not made it. You have bottomed out your car to the point that you would be stuck.
Wow.
So you would need an off-roading vehicle.
Yeah. Did you ever flip go and switch any gears, or you just like, hey, my car's good as it is? Because I know what car you have.
Yeah, no. Lowest gear, I tried to put it into a special mode to help me along, but I was just so flustered trying to get over this thing. I was kind of just like, it's fine, just lowest gear and be fine.
That's pretty creepy. Yeah. Okay, so you were able to make it past that. And by the way, we paused the video a minute ago because of the SD card, but when we talked off camera, we actually name dropped the towns we were talking about, and I made a mistake. So the first area that you're now just getting out of is the same town, the larger town that's next to you that we've been talking about this whole time.
Yeah.
You are now diverting to the other location I thought we were talking about.
Yeah.
So, which is an even bigger town that's also been in the news, but continue.
So I got out of that mess. My father and this stranger were, just shy of arguing because I was holding up the line, that is what it is. And it was a fine kind of like, side comment when we finally got all said and done is like, my father said, I should have told my son's concealed carry. I'm like, no, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
But no, it was.
Was your dad unarmed?
My father was unarmed, yeah.
Damn. Okay.
Because he does not have, he doesn't have that,
It's interesting you guys still thought about that in that moment. Because if I had a family member, especially like a parent, like I would not have been in the situation, I'll leave it at that. But if I was in the situation where I had a loved one who did not have a concealed carry, I get the danger of giving an untrained person a firearm, but also it would be like, maybe you should have something in the glove compartment right now. So, okay, that's interesting. But no, keep going.
Yep, so got out of that situation and we were just going slow because at that point there were linemen on both sides of the road. They were directing traffic at certain points. And then it was kind of like, backup of other individuals with, again, more pickups with trailers, flatbed trailers. One point there was a truck with porta potties. I thought that were for the linemen, which makes sense.
Yep.
I mean, sanitation.
But anyone that with access to them is probably going to use them. So it does help out the community in a lot of ways.
Either community or for them, I didn't mind. I didn't care because a lot of things that place needed is dysentery. So it was just it was a long trek down this way, and it was just more pickups with supplies, more linemen on the side of the road. So it was just an all hands on deck kind of deal.
Right.
Until we got into the next small town that was at another T intersection. I thought that.
Is this the location?
No, it's still not this location.
Okay, you're still
this
working
is
your way.
another outside. Yeah, no, this is forever. And then so you took a right. I thought that way was going to be blocked, but I didn't say anything. I was kind of just like, all right, be careful. And when we got to this downtown, there was kind of like, another tourist trap location with this structure that is a small red barn. That was kind of more like a shed. This shed was uprooted by the water during the hurricane and was dragged into the street and was now just in the middle of the street.
Wow. So how were people going around? They're just going on the grass?
One lane, kind of like pulling to the other side of the road and just trying to do that.
So it was
self-regulation.
So it was 4 lanes and it covered up like 3
Oh no,
lanes.
well, it was a 2 lane. So when I say middle of the road, I mean it was kind of like in an oncoming lane.
Right. It was still in part of the road.
Yeah.
That's still crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, no. Yeah. So again, more self-regulation of trying to get through traffic. Then another T intersection, the last T intersection. Oh, no, actually, no, final one. So at this intersection, we were able to go to that road, and that one took us to that first main hub, I should say. We still there was a good set of all lanes were open at this point in time. Infrastructure was kind of there. People were driving everywhere now.
Good.
It looked very civil. Of course, you can still see the points of like where there's mud build up in some of the
because
places.
If you're going toward the town, I think you're talking about a lot of the routes in and out of that location. Once you get out of the town, becomes these large 4-ways on the side of mountains where you have high elevation, but you do have the fear of mud and rock slides.
Yeah.
So I can see why a lot of those routes would be a lot safer. So was it pretty smooth sailing until you got to the next town?
Smooth sailing at that point, yeah.
So you get to the town of blank. We know which one we're talking about. Anything of note there? Or did you just kept going straight there?
We just kept going. I wanted so badly to stop at a mutual friend of ours to see what was going on.
Yeah.
But
Now, did you see their social media posts at that point? Because very early on, I saw that they had enough signal to post that they actually survived the flood. Because there's another famous building next to them that also survived the flood that a lot of people are talking about.
oh yeah, no, I did not see that.
Okay, yeah. So he called it pretty early and said he was good.
Okay, good.
Showed proof. So yeah. So at that point, you are now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 days from the hurricane. When you get to that location, most of the area is no longer flooded. You're able to just drive straight through.
Yeah.
Anything you saw there of note? Because in terms of damage and stuff, because that location is pretty near and dear to both our hearts, and it was in the news cycle a lot because it got flooded bad.
I actually did not catch anything of like damage.
Good, because
I was there.
Because I know the roads you traveled to get in and out of that town, all of that was head height over water. Less than a week. Yes.
It was just
so
that bad.
All the restaurants, all those stores we would go to in that main town area.
I knew that it was like record bad flooding.
Yeah, it was all under, because remember there's the small creeks in the downtown portion and the midtown portion.
Yeah.
But the reason that mutual location survived, I don't know how, but they did. Like that was actually really surprising that they were fine because they're just outside of the downtown.
Yeah.
And then the Harris Teeters, the Walmarts, the Lowe's Foods. The Walmart flooded, but the Lowe's Foods was good because it was on that hill next to that gun store. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
All of that because it's uphill, it survived. But everything below it, that the fast food you, me, and Zach went to.
Mm-hmm.
That one, that was all flood. So I'm really surprised you sailed right through all that.
Yeah.
So you went through that, and at that point, was it all good from there?
Yeah.
Wow, that's really fortunate then.
Yeah, it was just all smooth sailing, and of course now going down here, I was able to look on the opposite lane to see who was coming up, and again it was just linemen. The
baseline.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now that smooth sailing, your trip's pretty much done. You make it to your location. To review on your final trip out of here, what military, law enforcement, EMT, FEMA, anything? What did you see outside of linemen and private volunteers? You showed me. You saw a lot of private volunteers.
Yeah.
Linemen, private volunteers. Who else did you see?
Fuck all.
Fuck all. No, nothing. No guys in uniform.
I mean,
occasionally a cop, maybe.
Oh, as in like on the road, right?
Yeah. Like along the way, like did you see any authority of any type from that town, from your location, that town, until things finally got smooth again? Nothing. Wow. Okay. Fuck all the FEMA for sure. Definitely not those guys.
No, because there was maybe it was more like there was a lot more like city or state with like dump trucks.
Yeah.
And a lot more construction crew.
Okay.
Okay, that. But I didn't see. I didn't see stripped down MRAPs or stripped down Humvees from the local Nat Guard or somewhere.
Did you see any air assets flying overhead?
I will remember the Chinook.
Yeah. Or even another private helicopter. You see any more?
No. Well, by then I was gone. I wasn't paying attention to the sky. I was more to pay attention to the road.
Yeah, because I know during the time you started to get air assets in your hometown.
Yeah. By the barn, by the little shed that was washed out, there was some more police forces over there, I guess.
Okay.
But
Did you tell me you saw the mules?
Okay,
tell this. This is interesting.
So as I was on this main stretch down to this this next massive hub that we could get the gasoline, I distinctly remember like one of those Ram 3000 ranch trucks pulling this horse trailer along, and I thought, who the shit is bringing up horses?
So you saw them going up?
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, I saw them as they were arriving.
Yeah. And how do you know they were mules, not horses? Did you see their heads sticking out?
Oh no, I thought it was still horses until later on through a Facebook post.
Yeah, well, it could have been horses because they were doing the same thing. So pretty early on, these guys went pretty viral. I'll see if I can throw their image over here on their Facebook page, but they were a mule packing service who liked to do a lot of tour guides and stuff in the mountains. And when things got bad after the storm passed, they immediately packed their mules down with supplies and were acting physically carrying their pack mules to these locations. And it's interesting because even into the modern day, when we went to Afghanistan in 2001, just shortly after 9/11, I think before 2001 ended, we had certain very special assets there, and they were using horses and donkeys as well. And there's a reason why the United States Special Forces still maintains, I think it's a TM, on mule packing in a tactical environment. And I'm pretty sure they still update that TM. You can find outdated TMs of it. And it's fascinating to see that there are a lot of people who realize how valuable sometimes like 1,000-year-old technology still is.
And it was a lot. It was one chair of that, but it was a lot of chairs with side by sides.
Yep.
A lot of side by sides.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, okay, so before we move on to the next portion of this, is there any other conclusion you want to have about the very packed timeline of these, 8.5 days you went through all
Roughly,
this?
yeah.
Yeah, any other concluding thoughts?
Water.
Okay. So, let's see here. It's interesting that, I know your community is real small, but it's interesting you never had anyone say, hey, I'm the mayor of blank community. This is what we're doing. Did you? Was there ever a conversation that, hey, where's the mayor of my community? Did anyone ever ask that? Because I think it's going to come up real quick during this coming election year in your little community. Where was your mayor?
I didn't ask them that. There was that individual point of authority saying that there wasn't a truck coming. I asked him to identify himself, but I didn't ask for his title. So that was his name.
So let me rephrase this. Do you know who your mayor of your community is right now?
No.
You know? Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe it's not the best scenario for you, but
yeah.
I know where I live. I know enough of the faces of the city council members and the mayor to know if we're in a tragedy, I would know pretty damn quick if he was in that crowd or not. Okay, that's fine. Never mind that. I would say I think the second poll booths are open. I think a lot of people are going to look at their local community real quick and say who's getting reelected real quick and who's not getting reelected real quick. And that goes not just mayor. I think county sheriffs that can be elected. I think in some cases even coroners. Actually, I don't know if North Carolina has coroner election. I know some other states nearby do. Okay, so this is probably going to be a long one, which is outside of the main things we already talked about, what are some additional preparedness lessons you learned that you're going to try the best to implement in the future?
So on that list, the very first one, in that list I spoke with my father about, hands down, without a doubt, is going to be some kind of generator.
Generator? Okay.
Yeah, that was the number one thing they wanted to have me write down.
Yeah.
What kinds of generators, sure. But the other speak with it more is going to be kind of like leaning to like a propane generator is what we're going to be trying to do. Splitting that is either going to
That's interesting you choose propane. Is that because you can just store the propane safer?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what we're looking at.
The original one was going to be
and your grill could take it too.
What's that?
Your grill does propane as well, right?
Charcoal. Yep. But we're going to be doing a solar power generator. But from that, it was kind of like having to, like with the instance of this hurricane, there was still overcast the entire time.
Yeah.
We only finally started to see a break, and it's towards the end of it. It was just wild. But propane would be generally the first thing that would be linking into. And then after that, power banks for phones.
Right, that's a good one. Yeah.
So then the solar power banks are going to be just fine.
The catch with the power banks with a lot of this is you got to make sure it's being regularly charged beforehand as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's good. I know. So double check the legality of it because North Carolina is really weird on this because it's by county. I think it's North Carolina that does it by county. Some counties won't let you collect rainwater. However, rain barrels are really cool devices. Have you seen these before?
Yeah, I also played not State of Decay, but it was like Project Zomboid, so the idea of like collecting water and all that kind of stuff. I know it's kind of stupid, but...
Yeah, I know, but so a rain barrel, so you can get it where you can hook it up to your gutter system.
Yeah.
And like 2 minutes of rain will fill that thing up because it's collecting all your gutter water. And again, not the cleanest water, but you can use it for other stuff like flushing toilets. And that would be a good one too. But yeah, water for sure. The rule is 3 gallons a day for everything. So drinking, cleaning, hygiene, cooking, etc. per person.
Mm-hmm.
So if it was you and your father, you're looking at 6 gallons a day. Times that by 365 if you want to have a year's worth of water supply. You were looking at, what, over 1,000 gallons? Or getting close to like 800 gallons? Something off the top of my head. That's obviously not feasible, right, just to have 800 gallons. So you can probably get close to 100 gallons, but you're still packing up a lot of your, some storage space.
Yeah.
But I mean, water is one of the biggest challenges for people. It's why you see so many homesteaders get property with a water source on it, So
the only thing that we kind of did in line with that, so we have a dehumidifier.
Okay.
And so we just collect the water from the dehumidifier.
Really?
Yeah, 100%.
That's really clever. Now, is it battery powered?
Electric. So
Okay.
at a certain point, kind of just loses luster. But in the summer season, when it's just constantly raining, and this is like a good, 2.5 gallon tank at the bottom of it.
Wow.
And we just grab a funnel and an old water jug from so we constantly drink spring water.
Yeah.
We do not drink water from the tap at all. And so we just pour the thing into the used water gallons and just write distilled on the bottle and call it a day.
That's smart. Because that's probably way cleaner than any of the water outside at that point. You would still probably want to use purification taps, but I mean that's a way better solution.
It is a way better.
Yeah, that's clever. I never heard about that. That's really smart, actually. Yeah, water is definitely a big one. Food. So I know a goal I've been trying to achieve. It's a long coming one. Is a year's worth of food, because it's not in terms of taking up space. Actually, not as much as you think to say that, like a year's worth of food. But I've gotten close. I think I got close to 6 months, but a lot of it's outdated. I got to re-update it. That's why I'm kind of delayed on it. But I think that's a big one for a lot of people. Obviously, if you're in a situation with a lot of people in the hurricane, they just lost everything. But for those who didn't, like you guys, 6 months of food would not just help you guys out really well, but help out your neighbors as well.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I know you got to take care of yourself first, but a community like yours, it seems like a situation where a lot of people are much more comfortable sharing than others, Another one that stood out to me is communication. So I am just dabbling into some radios, like for the airsoft side, we do Bearfang radios, it's Chinese radios, and they're great for what they are. But in terms of real emergency comms, there's a whole rabbit hole you can go down that so few people do, because it's kind of complicated. Like getting your ham radio license, going into paying for your sat phone, maybe you have to do monthly charges on it, plus the grand it takes to buy them. Getting Starlink. So I don't know if you're aware of this, but a lot of people are donating Starlink kits, but also a lot of the linemen and emergency service personnel that were going into these areas to rescue these people, they were saying, listen, the only foolproof way we were getting to communicate with people is through Starlink. And I'm assuming that's because most of these sat phones are expensive. They couldn't issue out hundreds of sat phones.
Yeah.
And Starlink was a really good one. So as a individual, I mean, I haven't checked the prices on it yet, but I mean, there are home kits for Starlink that are affordable with monthly payments. So I think that's a really big learning lesson from this in terms of comms. In terms of transportation, definitely having more fuel for the car, right? But it is thankful that as long as your car didn't get hit by a tree or something, I'm surprised how mobile you guys were with the cars.
Yeah.
Especially the stuff I'm seeing in these other communities, like the roads are just effed up. You got real lucky in the location you were at.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, still make sure your car's transportable. I'm not saying people go get, pack mules or anything, but I found that to be a very fascinating lesson, seeing half a state refine value in a 1,000-old technology,
Well, along with transportation, routinely checking your roads.
Right.
To make sure that they are still open, because, I had one road that was obviously closed. It was washed out, broken out, gone.
Yeah.
But then they were still trying to repair it, so of course that's coming out. The road that I took to get to help take apart this non-existent truck, I drove on it, it was open. On my way back, it was closed.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So that in itself is kind of terrifying.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And so the last route, half of it was gone and the other half was about to be gone.
Got it.
So it was broken up, kind of off-roading, pushed up.
And this is something as well. So I know between you and me, I mean, you've seen the back of my car normally.
Yeah.
I have the bug out bag back there and a tote for more conventional problems. And I think it's probably good because you kept leaving your house every day at a certain point. Probably good to have more than just what you have in your back as well. And just having it in your car in general might be good because if you had to, a rope, like a flotation device, or just a rucksack to say, hey, I have to park here. I think that'd be a good lesson. Let's see here. So you and me are big into firearms and stuff. I don't think it's much of a secret to say that you have a night vision device. I'm surprised you never Craig pull that bad boy out once or twice just to see what's going on at night. Like even just looking out your window. Did you not?
No. Kind of just also kind of want to keep that at least amongst the neighbors, kind of like hush hush, or kind of like.
Well,
I was gonna be pretty.
Well, they would have seen you.
Yeah, that's my thing, right?
But you would have seen them.
Yeah.
No, what I say that is like between all the rifles and the body armor and the helmets that we're constantly talking about. At the end of the day, like a shot was never fired, thank God. And if there was one, it wouldn't have been with any of those devices. It would have been your concealed carry. You know what I mean? I mean, there's this kind of this fantasy in the prepper world of like, oh man, I would be loading it down with a zombie apocalypse. Yeah. No, you're not. You and everyone else are gonna be driving up to the community center each day, saying, hey, is everyone okay? No one's rioting yet? Because if so, we got a pistol on me. You know what I mean? And
that was another reason why we kind of just want to hunker down, because when there was that announcement of like, free food every day, 1-4, this big location, there was mass looting going on.
Wait, there was?
I was told by this gentleman, this was on that little coffee communication thing where people were trying to figure out when they could leave. We were also told that there was mass looting going on in other towns.
Well, in your community or other communities?
In other communities.
Yes, so that is accurate. So there were a lot of reports going out. There were a couple of cases of some high profiles because they actually made arrests in some of them. Like there was one big rumor mill of like there was like a gang of like 8 illegal immigrants pulling people over by gunpoint, taking their stuff, and they snagged those guys.
Oh, that was actually happening.
I saw mugshots of that situation. Now, in terms of other looting, a lot of the bigger cities and stuff, so Asheville and Boone, I think, were probably the biggest populated areas in Western North Carolina that I saw. Especially Asheville is very worrying. There were a lot of people there who I know was giving daily updates. I was friends with on Facebook who were saying, hey, power's out. Okay, now we got the brown water just like you. Actually, one of them just said that less than a week ago. The brown water's back in Asheville. So they're really behind in certain areas. And a place as big as, I mean, you and I visited Asheville together once. And, I mean, it's a big city tucked away in a valley in the middle of the mountains. It's also a very left-leaning one politically, and it was interesting. So, I mean, when we heard looting and rioting, I wasn't surprised. But, in terms of, like, Black Lives Matter level of, like, filming everyone just raiding a store, I haven't seen much of that, but part of that could be because a lot of people don't have internet access to actually share a lot of it. I think what you saw a lot of more in terms of looting is people going into, like, Walmart's half flooded and just snagging stuff. Yeah. Which I know in a lot of these places, eventually, when authorities came in, they would be like, hey, keep it controlled, but all this stuff is free because it's going to rot in 24 hours anyway. But yeah, there were just absolutely accusations of looting and whatnot. But only one case have I been really seeing a lot of mug shots. So, but I know a lot of sheriffs were coming out. I'm not sure if you saw this at the time. I think afterwards you saw it, but a lot of sheriffs, were saying, hey, listen, Second Amendment exists, open carry. A lot of them were saying that. And I can't blame it. North Carolina's a pretty decent state. We're not the best, but we're not the worst, as in many things. North Carolina, we're very much in the middle and as being a politically purple state. But I'll state if the Second Amendment was good enough to where, a lot of people were encouraged. And I suspect that probably helped mitigate a lot of problems in comparison to other parts of this country that could have been hit. Okay, let's see what else I had here. Let's see here. I'm just looking at some of my notes. So you mentioned water, right? But also water filtration. So you can go on eBay right now and get like UN and NATO water purification tablets by the hundreds if you want for like under $100. Yeah. I think most people listening to this should probably do that just for preparedness sake. I mean, that's a simple thing to do. You pop a tab or two inside a quart of water. I mean, it's not the fastest solution, but it's something.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got like two full rounds of iodine.
Yeah, that's what they're, iodine tablets. You can get them at the camping stores too. Another one I saw, I've been following these guys on Instagram for a bit. I forgot what they're called, but they make a water filter that goes on an Alice rucksack frame.
Mm-hmm.
So you ruck into it instead of a normal rucksack. One hose goes into the pool of water, the other hose goes out the other end, and there's a filter inside of a 5-gallon jerry can, just like the one that we were using earlier. And that's a medium level way to filter water, because it's like you run up to the water source, suck it up within X amount of minutes. There's your 5 gallons, ruck out of there. You know what I mean? And that looked like something that was actually affordable for the average person, right? Because the next step up that I'm aware of, I know the military has these, or they're called the water dogs, which is a Connex container that you drop at a location, and they have hundreds of feet of hose to a water source with a bunch of generators that are inside this cargo container, and it just pops open, and that is your mobile water filtration system. And I think they even have like a pH test kit with them. It's super cool. But funny enough, we're one of the biggest militaries in the world, the United States, and there's not a lot of those guys. And I would say there should probably be more of those guys, not just for war, but also for logistics on the emergency side.
This is probably not the most feasible way, but I just remember this from high school. Because I've got a deck, technically I could use this. I just try to attempt it, but there is the evaporation method.
Oh, well, yeah, that's a classic, The problem is a lot of that takes forever.
I know it does take forever, but if I'm going to be in a location that it is going to be forever, if you have a possibility of doing that, sure, try that as well. Because instead of, my mindset is trying to stay away from using the iodine tablets as much as possible, because once I do that, that means I know I'm getting desperate now.
Yeah. But by the way, I started doing stuff in Alaska because my LBE, my tactical kit, because I was worried more about the elements than I was in a firefight. But that carried over to North Carolina as well. But having iodine kit on your tactical kit as well, the iodine tablets. I'm not sure if you already do that, but
I do. Yeah.
You do good,
That's what I meant by 2 full sets. One's in the house, one is over, one in the kit. Yeah.
Hey, this has been a really long conversation, but for a good reason. Are there any concluding thoughts you want to have to this?
The only other concluding thoughts is, if you don't think it will ever happen, it is going to happen.
Right.
And you're gonna be caught when you're not with the least amount ready, and everybody around you is not gonna be ready either. So
every community in the world has some sort of just natural disaster that could happen to them. Earthquakes, floods, hurricanes, it can happen. Volcanoes erupting, it can happen. So for me, I would say there's definitely a lot of things that individual can learn. My biggest worry is, unfortunately, it's a philosophical one, which is even the biggest and most powerful nation in the world is incapable under certain circumstances, I will say that, to properly take care of their own people and natural environment. At the end of the day, it's on you and your neighbors, and more broadly, your community, to take care of yourself. I think there is an empowerment in that statement from an independent standpoint, but also a lot of fear, because that independence comes a lot of responsibility. Because if something does happen, it's on you, because we know how the government's going to act, as we're seeing in this disaster. I mean, FEMA be damned, you never saw FEMA in your situation. You saw one military personnel in a helicopter. Yeah. And the rest of it, but you did see a lot of, linemen and whatnot. But outside that, it was civilians helping each other out, And I think, it is what it is, but I think that should be a lesson learned for people to take care of themselves. Again, viewers, this is a very long and odd video for the channel. However, I think it was an important one. I think there's a lot to learn from it. Even if that story could be told from a very unconventional place, such as this channel. Hope you guys learned something from it. Thank you guys for watching, and we will see you guys around next time. Hopefully more uplifting content next time. But thank you guys for watching. All right, bye.